Chapter 790. After Yi Tianyun entered, he saw an extremely spacious space. From afar, he could see a vast grassland. Not far away, there was a forest. It was exactly the scenery outside. There was also a huge city in the distance. It felt like the capital of the outside world. The most eye-catching thing was the staircase that connected to the sky. It formed a gyroscope and kept spinning upward, connecting to the sky. When the two of them had just entered, a few rays of light flashed in the sky and fiercely burned down from the sky. A flame was fiercely burned on their hands, and it looked like a netherworld flame. What's going on? Yi Tianyun looked at the netherworld fire in his hands and felt a little puzzled. He didn't know about this from the King of the Heavens. After all, the rules were set by the ancient underworld god king, and it had nothing to do with the King of the Heavens. This is the netherworld divine mark. In the past, only the people of the ancient underworld divine kingdom could have this pass. Without this mark, it means that you are not one of us, but someone from the outside world. Without this mark, you can't continue to go up and enter the higher floors. The higher you go, the more resources and spiritual power there will be. Now that the rules have been slightly changed, the situation in the ancient underworld divine tower has changed. As long as you enter, you can obtain this mark. As the number of marks increases, you can go up to the higher floors of the tower. When you reach the peak, you will become the master of this tower. You can control part of the rules at will and decide a person's life. Fan Xuexuan's favorable impression of Yi Tianyun was not low. It was more than 100 favorable impression points, which was enough for her to tell him the details. Moreover, it was not a secret. It had become the rules here. Can control part of the rules at will, Yi Tianyun frowned. It was not surprising that this would happen. This was the case in the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. As long as one had a strong bloodline and was recognized by the bloodline steel, he could control the corresponding star power. It was the same here. As long as one's position was high and the recognition was high, he could release more power. That's right. A long time ago, the ancient underworld divine kingdom was very prosperous. Until one day, our people became fewer and fewer. It was as if we had disappeared into thin air. Then, after our pagoda master died, everything changed. Fan Xuexuan's voice was extremely cold. A group of experts came. They were not from the ancient Ming Holy Nation, but they were recognized by the ancient Ming Holy Pagoda. They killed their way up and occupied priority positions. In the end, they forcibly occupied this area and made the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda their territory. Then we will lose all our advantages. This is clearly our territory, but we can only leave quickly. Otherwise, our entire army will die here. She clenched her fists tightly, and her eyes reddened. Anger gushed out from the depths of her eyes, and her delicate body trembled. Yi Tianyun could imagine the situation at that time. It was definitely a nightmare. The death of the pagoda master meant that the person who controlled the greatest rules was dead. Then, everything would have to be reshuffled. It was impossible for the ancient Ming Divine Kingdom to stay here forever. They had to go out to look for resources, communicate with other divine kingdoms, or send their disciples out to gain experience. It was only natural that the pagoda master went out. Clearly, he had died outside. He didn't know how he died, but he was sure that he died miserably. It was the demons who forced you into such a desperate situation, wasn't it? It was the evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun already had the answer in his heart. It was definitely the evil spirit race who could do such a thing. Only the evil spirit race could devour the bloodline of others and make it their own. By then, they would be able to deceive their way through and successfully sneak in to seize power. The ancient Ming Divine Pagoda favored the descendants of the ancient Ming Divine Kings, but they were already recognized, which was why such a scene had happened. You even know that? Fan Xuexuan said with red eyes, I thought that no one knew about this. If it wasn't for the ancient Ming Divine Kingdom, the netherworld would have fallen long ago. Who knew that when we asked for help from other divine kingdoms, not only did they ignore us, but they also chased us away and even wanted to steal our resources. Cruel, cold, disgusting. He had experienced such a feeling when he was in the Fengtian divine kingdom. All of them looked righteous, but their hearts were like a stinking ditch. Of course I know. I can even feel that there are many evil spirit race in the city ahead. I didn't expect the ancient Ming divine pagoda, which was supposed to punish the evil spirit race, to become their territory. It's really ironic. Yi Tianyun shook his head and said doubtfully, logically speaking, the ancient Ming divine pagoda is a high-grade divine artifact, so it should be able to recognize it. It's impossible to deceive the ancient Ming divine pagoda's item spirit just by devouring the bloodline power. It was fine if the heaven ascending divine pagoda was deceived. That was just a phantom, not an item spirit. As a high-grade divine artifact, the ancient Ming divine pagoda's item spirit must be very terrifying. Logically speaking, it should be able to suppress everything. No item spirit. The ancient Ming divine pagoda doesn't have an item spirit. Fan Shuoxuan's eyes were filled with despair. No item spirit. Yi Tianyun was instantly speechless. He felt very shocked, but he quickly reacted. It's because your ancestors didn't have enough power to awaken the item spirit of this high-grade divine artifact. Fan Shuoxuan didn't nod to admit it, but she also didn't shake her head to deny it. There was no doubt that this was the case. It wasn't easy to have an item spirit. Firstly, the owner had absolute power. Secondly, the owner had to bring the item spirit to kill enemies and cultivate the relationship between them. That was how the item spirit gradually evolved. Now that there was no item spirit, the ancient Ming divine king couldn't control this big guy completely. He didn't expect that the ancient Ming divine king couldn't even control a high-grade divine artifact with his power. It was very likely that the creation of this thing was beyond their imagination. They thought it was a top divine artifact to suppress the evil spirit race, but now it had become their territory. It was a sad thing. The original evil spirit race would definitely die if they came in, but the evil spirit race with the devouring bloodline had sneaked in. They were the descendants of the ancient Ming divine nation. So this is the truth behind the decline of the ancient Ming divine nation. Yi Tianyun was full of murderous intent. He thought he could find the descendants of the ancient Ming divine nation here. He found them, but the ancient Ming divine pagoda was stolen. That's right. Now you know. I don't have any companions here. I beg you to help me take back the ancient Ming divine pagoda. If you can take back the ancient Ming divine pagoda, we will definitely reward you handsomely. Fan Shuoxuan's tone was full of sincerity. Are you so sure that I can help you? The key is that you trust me so much. Aren't you afraid that I'm from the evil spirit race? Yi Tianyun smiled. If you are from the evil spirit race, I would have sensed it long ago. I will never forget that disgusting aura. Fan Shuoxuan said coldly. If you can't help me, I won't force you. I will go alone. I just hope that you don't tell me who I am. That's enough. She wanted to find a companion that she could trust. Yi Tianyun had saved her before. He knew her identity, but he didn't do anything. At least he was a companion that she could trust. Having a companion was better than being alone and helpless. That was the real tragedy. Chapter 791. Fan Shuoxuan explained the general situation, such as the rules here, and other things. There were some private things that she did not say, such as the current situation of the ancient underworld divine kingdom, or where they were hiding. Yi Tianyun also didn't ask, this kind of private thing, even if Fan Shuoxuan is brainless, it is impossible for her to say it out loud. Without absolute trust, it was unlikely that she would say such things. So this is how the flame brand is used. Yi Tianyun raised his hand and looked at the flame brand in his hand. In order to obtain a flame brand, one had to go to the main city of each level and enter the challenge ring to compete with other cultivators, regardless of life or death. After winning, one could obtain the other party's flame brand. After obtaining 2 flame brands, one could go to the second level. Whether it was before or now, the rules had not changed. The ancient underworld divine kingdom used extreme competition to select more powerful geniuses. Those who reached the 9th level were the Tower Masters, those who reached the 8th level were the Elders, and those who reached the 7th level were the Hall Masters. The 6th level were the Deacons. The higher one went, the more difficult it would be. It could be said that the ancient underworld divine pagoda was the ancient underworld divine kingdom. Because of its vast area, there were many people here. It could be said that it had been glorious for a time. The strongest divine kingdom in the netherworld had crushed the second divine kingdom by several times, or even more than 10 times. Layer upon layer, it was like there were 9 cities here. How could it not be shocking? The Tower Master had the power to kill, but it could not be used casually. It could only be used once within a specified time. However, there was no Tower Master here now. The most powerful ones were the Elders. It was not easy to become a Tower Master. One had to go through layers of tests. The key was that the bloodline had to be absolutely pure. There was no doubt that the bloodline of the evil spirit race was not pure enough. It was mixed with the power of other bloodlines. In other words, the descendants of the ancient underworld divine king could not absorb the blood of other people, not even a little. It was basically difficult to become a Tower Master. At most, they could only become an Elder. However, even if they became an Elder, the evil spirit race already had a lot of power and could change many rules. The current rules were changed by them, so that all the cultivators who came in could be branded with this brand. This flame brand had many benefits. One could enjoy the resources here. If he consumed a certain amount of flame imprints, he would be able to cultivate in the cultivation room. These cultivation rooms contained a lot of spiritual energy, especially when it came to cultivating the netherworld flame. It was a great help. The biggest temptation here was to be able to control the netherworld flame. Originally, he couldn't control it, but after obtaining the flame imprint, he could gradually control this power. This kind of power could be brought out, and it would not disappear after leaving. That was why this place was able to attract a steady stream of cultivators, and it was all for the sake of obtaining even greater opportunities. The problem was that if he wanted to leave, he would have to pay a certain price. That was, he would have to gather all 5 flame seals in order to leave this place. In the past, Shaoqin had not needed these 5 flame marks at all. He could summon them at will without any difficulty. 5 flame brands. I'm afraid they'll be devoured by then, right? Yi Tianyun sneered in his heart. How could he not know what the evil spirit race had done? Letting people in on a large scale was nothing more than trapping them here. Being able to climb to the 5th level meant that their talents were not bad. The more valuable it was to devour, the more nourishing it would be. Soon, when they entered the city, there were many residents. Many of them were hawking on the side, selling all kinds of treasures or spiritual medicines. The area was vast, and all kinds of spiritual medicines could grow here. There were also demonic beasts. It was like a small world, and it was not difficult for cultivators to survive here. Moreover, the spiritual energy here was denser than outside, so it was much better to cultivate here than outside. There were high and low levels of cultivation here, and there were even people at the spirit refinement stage. Because it was not easy to go out, some people took root here and slowly cultivated. They also gave birth here with other cultivators. Although there were very few cultivators coming here now, it could be said that a long time ago, there had been a large number of cultivators coming here. Before coming here, he had investigated the ancient underworld divine pagoda. There was a rumor that they were recruiting cultivators on a large scale, and they would take as many as they wanted. After a series of tests, they would be able to obtain decent heaven-level martial arts. Because of this news, all the small forces and empires had come on a large scale. Even the god nation wanted the inheritance of the ancient underworld divine king. Therefore, a lot of people were sent over, and the place was immediately filled with people. These people had come in a long time ago, and so far, no one had gone out. Over time, the ancient underworld divine pagoda was known as a dangerous place, and there was no return. There are still many people here, but they don't know that they have become food for the evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun shook his head. These people did not know their situation, and they had become food for the evil spirit race. That's right. We have to climb up step by step. Even if they control the rules, they do not have absolute control. As long as we rush up, I will become an elder and fight my way to the position of the pagoda master. Then, the ancient underworld divine pagoda will return to our hands. Fan Shuoxuan's goal was brutal, but it was also extremely difficult. Your elders have never thought of this? Yi Tianyun was puzzled. They have, but they can't fight against them. Especially if their cultivation is too high, they will be easily discovered. I can hide my bloodline power, and the evil spirit race will not be able to discover me, Fan Shuoxuan explained. So that's how it is, but I don't have much time. Let's go to the arena now. Yi Tianyun and Fan Shuoxuan directly went to the arena in the center of the city. There were already many cultivators fighting each other in the huge arena. Killing the opponent or knocking them out of the arena would allow them to obtain the opponent's flame brand. If the flame brand was taken away, they would not be able to challenge for a period of time. They could only recover with various kinds of elixirs outside. As soon as he arrived, he immediately felt the necklace on his chest start to emit red light, which meant that there were evil spirit race cultivators around. He looked up and did not need a necklace to see that there were more than 10 evil spirit race cultivators around him. They did not participate in the competition, but were watching from the side. It was obvious that they were spies here, watching the situation. Yi Tianyun glanced at them and jumped over without hesitation. He landed on one of the arenas and hooked his finger at one of the evil spirit race cultivators. He said indifferently, "You, come down and compete with me." Chapter 792. The range of the ancient Ming divine pagoda was very random. As long as one could come up through the iron chain, there was no standard line. However, if one wanted to come up from the outside, it would be very difficult to come up without the cultivation of the spirit core stage. The ones with the lowest cultivation bases here were basically all young people who were born here. Most of them were above the spirit core stage, and there were many cultivators above the core transformation stage. The evil spirit race cultivator that Yi Tianyun pointed at was at 5th level core transformation stage, which was considered quite strong. Wow, this guy is a bit unfamiliar. Did he just come in? He has just come down and he already challenged the patrol envoy. He is really bold. He is either an idiot who doesn't know the situation and chose the wrong person, or he is very confident in himself and did this on purpose. Anyway, he is dead meat. The strength of the patrol envoy is not comparable to that of ordinary people. Moreover, there is only one flame mark on his arm. He is really courting death. The surrounding cultivators shook their heads and thought that it was a big joke for Yi Tianyun to challenge the patrol envoy as soon as he came down. Interesting. Are you sure you want to challenge me? A red light flashed in the depths of patrol envoy Zhao's eyes. There were 2 flame marks on his arm, but these 2 flame marks were a touch of red. This was the patrol envoy, a deacon who was responsible for patrolling this city. Private fights were prohibited in the ancient Ming divine pagoda. Once a private fight broke out, the person would be punished by the ancient Ming divine pagoda. The punishment was very simple. That was to kill the person with a bolt of lightning. If one wanted to fight or to settle a personal grudge, he had to fight in the arena. The ancient Ming divine king had always believed that he would never fight in the dark. If he wanted to fight, he would fight openly. That's right. Can't I choose you? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Yes, you are not qualified. Patrol envoy Zhao looked at him coldly and refused to fight. He refused Yi Tianyun's challenge without hesitation. The crowd booed. It was such a pity. He had thought that he would be able to see an idiot fight with Inspector Zhao and see Inspector Zhao brutally killing a newbie. Who knew that he would choose to reject the offer? Some people could understand. Inspector Zhao's status was relatively high. If he could accept anyone's challenge, wouldn't he have died of exhaustion long ago? So you're just a coward. I thought that all patrolling envoys were strong, but it turns out that you're afraid of losing. Yi Tianyun said disdainfully, his eyes filled with disdain. It was a simple and crude provocation without any technical content, but most people would fall for it. Do you think I'm afraid of losing? Patrol Envoy Zhao was immediately enraged. Their status was high, and the reason why they didn't participate in the war was mainly because they wanted to nurture many cultivators to become stronger, and then turn them into their food. If they were killed now, they would be too tender. It was like raising a bunch of pigs. They would only be able to get more meat when they were bigger. If he killed it now, the benefits he would gain would be too little. However, being provoked was another matter altogether. That's right. If you're not afraid of losing, why don't you dare to come down and compete with me? Yi Tianyun said disdainfully. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Originally, challenging the patrolling envoys was equivalent to courting death. Now that he was provoking the patrolling envoys, it was even more so. Even if he won this time, it would be difficult for him to gain a foothold. It's over, this kid. I remember that there was someone who didn't like the patrolling envoys and provoked them. In the end, he was toyed to death. Isn't that so? The patrolling envoys are all from the same nostrils. Who wouldn't be toyed to death by them? They knew that provoking the patrolling envoys would definitely anger them. Another reason why they didn't dare to challenge the patrolling envoys was that the patrolling envoys were all in groups. If they were angered, it wouldn't be a fun thing to do. Of course, Yi Tianyun knew that challenging the patrolling envoys would definitely be courting death. However, this was the effect he wanted. The so-called patrolling envoys here, or those with higher status, were all from the evil spirit race. In that case, there was no need for him to hide anything. He didn't want to waste time here. He wanted to rush up and kill these trash. In the next moment, patrolling envoys Xiao's eyes turned cold. Without hesitation, he jumped down and landed on the field. As soon as he jumped down, a layer of protective barrier immediately enveloped the two of them. At this moment, either he surrendered or the other party died. Otherwise, the protective barrier wouldn't disappear. Very good, you've successfully angered me. Patrolling envoys Xiao waved his hand. The two flames on his arms quickly rose with a whoosh, turning into extreme flames that surged out. Circles after circles of netherworld flames enveloped him. In particular, the surrounding energy kept surging over, once again increasing his strength. Being much stronger than others of the same level was the special privilege of the patrolling envoys, absolute suppression of strength. It was precisely because of this that no one dared to challenge them. If they were to challenge them casually, it would be a dead end. Unless one's cultivation was higher than theirs, it was impossible to win. When he looked at Yi Tianyun, he realized that the person had already disappeared. When he became vigilant and wanted to see the situation around him clearly, his consciousness instantly disappeared and he completely left this world. He didn't feel anything, not even pain, and he completely lost consciousness. Bang! Patrolling envoys Xiao's head was smashed by a punch and turned into a headless corpse that fell to the ground. Blood splashed on the ground in front of him. A patrolling envoys Xiao was killed so easily that the other party didn't even have time to react. After everyone saw this, they were suddenly dumbfounded. What kind of powerful flame was this? What kind of powerful patrolling envoys Xiao was killed with a single punch? Such a terrifying speed, even they couldn't see it, and patrolling envoys Xiao died just like that. As a Saint King stage cultivator, dealing with a core transformation stage cultivator was like killing an ant. If he couldn't even do this, he might as well kill himself. Moreover, Yi Tianyun suppressed his cultivation to achieve this. To deal with trash like this, there was no need to expose his full strength. If he exposed his strength so quickly, it would not be fun. After killing patrolling envoys Xiao, the flame mark on his arm flew out and drilled into his arm. Immediately, another flame mark appeared on his arm, successfully reaching 2 flame marks. This can be said to be quite easy, and he obtained 2 flame marks. If according to the normal process, at least 5 cultivators with 1 flame mark would have to be defeated to obtain a complete flame mark. But now it was different, it was equivalent to killing a cultivator of a higher level, and the flame mark obtained directly reached the standard, giving him a flame mark. It was the same for the second time. If there was no opponent of a higher level, then he would need to win 5 consecutive battles to obtain a 3rd flame mark. Chapter 793. Ding. Successfully killed Inspector Zhao. Reward, 120. 000 EXP, 5. 000 CPS, 2. 000 SPS, Reward, Evil Spirit Blood. Yi Tianyun easily killed Inspector Zhao. Fan Shuoxuan was shocked, she can only take it slow. She didn't dare to be like Yi Tianyun, who killed an evil spirit race expert. Good, very good. Fan Shuoxuan clenched her fists, her eyes were full of joy. She can feel that Yi Tianyun killed Inspector Zhao is from evil spirit race. The thick smell of blood, the familiar smell, the smell of hatred that she can never forget. After Inspector Zhao died, a netherworld flame quickly enveloped his body, and before he could even reveal his true body, he had already been teleported out. The corpses that died here would soon be moved to be dealt with. As for where exactly they would be moved, it was not clear. Next. Yi Tianyun held a spirit tool in his hand and pointed at the next inspector. He rummaged through the storage ring for a long time, he could barely find a spirit tool. He really doesn't have this kind of weapon now. This type of weapon has already been given to others, or directly sold in the mall. Even if it only has a few hundred CPS, he will still sell it. He already has a divine tool, it's more than enough. Other levels of weapons are useless to him. Of course, there is another use, and that is to give it to others. He is now using a spirit tool to hide his strength, so he can easily kill the inspector. At most, he is a few levels stronger. It's not enough to scare others, but he is not worried that no one will challenge him. If no one challenges him, doesn't it mean that he can't get the flame mark? Of course not, there are other ways to get it. This move caused an uproar. They have to admit that Yi Tianyun is really bold, he actually dared to challenge 2 inspectors in a row. This kind of courage is really impressive. Before they thought that Yi Tianyun is dead, but now it seems that he is not a newcomer, he really has some strength. Damn human, this time I will come. The other inspector roared angrily. He instantly used his strength, and 2 arms grew out of his back. He actually revealed his true self here, not worried that anyone would recognize him. After releasing his true body, each of his arms was holding a spirit sword. For spirit swords combined with his peak core transformation stage cultivation could really scare off a group of people. Many cultivators exclaimed when they saw it. Inspector Liu is going to explode. He even used the 4-armed unique skill. How enviable, that's right. Once he uses the 4 arms unique skill, he won't have any problem fighting those of a higher level. The patrol envoys are united. If they are provoked, they will take turns to challenge them. Now that Patrol Inspector Zhao has been killed, he'll immediately stand up for himself. The cultivators pointed at the side and did not think that these were evil spirit races. If one looked closely, they would find that they really only had 4 arms exposed. The rest of them were no different from ordinary cultivators. Therefore, it looked like a special martial art, and it did not feel too strange. Looks like he's still holding back, making others think that it's some kind of special martial art. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. He had to admit that they really knew how to hide. It was very likely that this kind of martial art was used by many cultivators. You have some ability to kill Patrol Inspector Zhao. If that's the case, you shouldn't have angered us. The only result for you is death. As soon as he finished speaking, Inspector Liu rushed forward and waved his weapon at him. This time, it was very difficult for Yi Tianyun to fight against the enemy. He could only dodge every attack and he was even injured. Every time he dodged, he was surrounded by danger. It was obvious that he was forced into a desperate situation. On the side, Fan Xiuxuan clenched her fists, her face full of worry. I told you not to force yourself. Now, if you get seriously injured, you'll be finished. Please don't let anything happen, please don't let anything happen. She wanted to help, but there was no way she could help. Let's see if this kid is still alive. Patrol Inspector Zhao was killed because of his carelessness. Let's see if he is still alive. Look at how hard he is trying to dodge. I'm afraid that he will be dead soon. That's right, he is too arrogant. If it was me, I would have stopped while I was ahead. This is simply courting death. One by one, the cultivators shook their head and felt that Yi Tianyun was too arrogant. It's either surrender or die. The other patrol inspectors nodded, their eyes were full of joy. They will soon see Yi Tianyun die under the sword of their companion. As the battle became longer and longer, Patrol Inspector Zhao couldn't kill Yi Tianyun. Instead, he consumed more and more energy, and his movement became slower and slower. Yi Tianyun's movement was also not fast. He was about to fall at any time, but he didn't fall. Coming. In the next moment, Yi Tianyun swung his sword and pierced through the man's body. No, impossible. Patrol Inspector Zhao looked at the long sword in his chest. He wanted to escape, but he felt a force exploding in his chest. Soon after, he was blasted away with a large hole in his chest. He was completely dead. Ding! Successfully killed Patrol Inspector Liu. Reward, 150,000. 000 EXP, 8. 000 Crazy Point, 2. 800 SPS, reward, Evil Spirit Blood. There wasn't much to drop, just a drop of evil spirit blood. It was as if the drop rate had decreased. In reality, appraisal eyes could tell that they would only drop the evil spirit's blood and nothing else. It could be said that they were stingy. Then the flame mark on Patrol Inspector Liu's body turned into a blue light and drilled into his arm. At this moment, there was a faint trace of flames on his arm. He couldn't form a flame trace in one go. Inspector Liu only had a little more than 2 flames in his hands. Therefore, the effect of filling up the flames would definitely be lesser. It would not be able to achieve the effect of 3 flames. Not enough. Yi Tianyun shook his head. It's a pity, it's too slow, he wants to be faster. Patrol Inspector Liu. The other patrolmen were shocked. Their hearts were like raging waves, rolling and tumbling. Patrol Inspector Liu is at the peak of core transformation stage, how can he be killed so easily? Doesn't this mean that Yi Tianyun's cultivation is at least void spirit stage? They didn't expect a void spirit stage cultivator to sneak in. He is too young, they don't think that he is a void spirit stage cultivator. But Yi Tianyun looked like he was about to fall. He didn't rely on his strength to kill Patrol Inspector Liu, he relied on his extraordinary stamina to kill Patrol Inspector Liu. Who's coming? Yi Tianyun pointed his sword at them, his grip on the sword trembled, it seems like he's going to fall at any time. I'll do it. One of the patrol inspectors immediately jumped down. Seeing Yi Tianyun is about to fall, how can he not kill Yi Tianyun? Chapter 794. Yi Tianyun wanted to trick them into coming down so that he could kill them one by one. If he continued to be very strong, he would definitely scare them. At that time, no one would come down. Right now, he was trying his best to kill as many evil spirit race as possible to replenish his flames. He did not want to delay. It would be best if he could rush to the 3rd floor in one go. The 3rd floor and above was the real starting point. If he was stuck on the 2nd floor, it would be more troublesome. The 2nd floor had greater restrictions and less power. It was easy to get stuck on the 2nd floor. Then, the patrolman raised his sword and attacked without saying a word. Yi Tianyun looked like he could be killed at any time. He was on the verge of collapse, and it was obvious that he was out of stamina. Continuing to challenge in such a situation was obviously irrational. All of them could not help but scold him for being too arrogant. Logically speaking, he could just take a good rest and challenge the next time. Or he could directly go up to the second floor to cultivate. What a good choice. Now that he was trying to be brave and continuously challenging, he was simply courting death. Big Brother Yi, what are you doing? Fan Xiuxuan was extremely anxious. She wished that she could go up and slap him. He clearly looked like he was out of stamina, yet he still chose to continue challenging. How could she not feel angry and anxious? However, she could only watch from the outside. Die, foolish human. The patrolman quickly stabbed over. Just as he was about to stab, Yi Tianyun twisted to the side and barely dodged it. The sword even pierced through his clothes, and he looked like he was almost injured. Damn it! The patrolman fiercely attacked again, attacking several times in a row, but he was barely able to dodge them. When he angrily attacked Yi Tianyun's hand speed suddenly increased, and he killed his opponent. With a bang sound, the opponent's chest was pierced, and following an explosion, he was sent flying. He could not be more dead. Following that, the flames on the patrolman's hand quickly surged over and drilled into his arm, quickly becoming much denser. It seemed like this time was not bad. It should be closer to 3 flames, which was why it had such an effect. From the looks of it, he had at least more than half of them. If he could kill 2 more, he would definitely be able to obtain the 3rd flame imprint. What? Inspector Huang was killed. They were shocked. They were clearly on the verge of collapse, yet they forcefully endured it and were barely able to kill it. Who else? Yi Tianyun used his sword to support himself as he stared blankly at the sky. Damn it, let me do it. One of the patrolling envoys was about to lose his mind right now. They were patrolling envoys. To think that 3 of them would die just like that. And they were killed by humans at that. They had basically never died here, but now 3 of them had been killed consecutively. How could they not be angry? After jumping down, Yi Tianyun repeated the same old trick and continued to dodge. Every time he attacked, he looked weak. Either the attack missed, or he barely dodged. It seemed like it was quite difficult. However, after delaying for a moment, he launched another fierce attack. The seemingly weak attack just so happened to land on the other party's chest, and an explosion accompanied it. Another patrol envoy had been killed. The imprint in Yi Tianyun's hand deepened again. He was about to successfully form the 3rd flame. Who else? Yi Tianyun looked up as he waved his sword. He looked like he was on the verge of collapsing. This time, they were all dumbfounded. How could he still kill an inspector in such a state? His body looked injured, and it was obviously not an illusion. However, he still managed to kill his opponent in such a situation. Those who originally thought that Yi Tianyun was going to die were speechless. They could only say that he was too stubborn. Could this kid be doing this on purpose to lure the inspector down? This can't be. He looks like he's really injured. How can this be fake? I'm not sure. Maybe it really is an illusion. He is trying to trick them into coming down to compete. Many of the cultivators started to have doubts. If killing one was a coincidence, what about the second one? Then it wouldn't be that simple. The cultivators had their own guesses, but the inspector was completely enraged. He immediately jumped down from the sky, wanting to fight to the death with him. Damn it, I don't believe that I can't kill you. The inspector was completely angry. He burst out with his full strength. Even if he was facing Yi Tianyun, he still used his other 2 arms. He wanted to kill Yi Tianyun with his sword. When he was about to attack, Yi Tianyun's figure disappeared. A sword light passed through his body. He didn't even finish his words. His whole body froze in place, and he couldn't say a word. The next moment, his body was cut in half and fell to the side. A large amount of blood flowed around and dyed the ground red. Too long-winded. Yi Tianyun flicked his sword lightly. His action was like flicking away the blood on the sword, even though there was no blood on the sword. It was too fast. Everyone only saw the sword light, and everything was over. Ding, successfully killed Inspector Hua. Reward, 150,000. 000 EXP, 8. 000 Crazy Point, 2. 800 SPS, reward, Evil Spirit Blood. At this time, a flame quickly flew up and burned on his arm. At this time, the third flame was completely lit. This power. He was faking it before. The other inspector was shocked. From the burst of power just now, he immediately knew that Yi Tianyun was faking it. Fan Xiuxuan was shocked. She thought that Yi Tianyun was injured, but she didn't expect that he was not injured at all. Big brother Yi is faking it. He is too cunning. Even I was fooled. Fan Xiuxuan was angry, but she was happy. Yi Tianyun is fine. She was afraid that something bad would happen to him. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the many inspectors, and the desire to devour even appeared in the depths of their eyes. The more talented a person was, the stronger the effect they could bring. If ordinary talent is like a steamed bun, then Yi Tianyun is equal to a piece of meat, an extremely tempting piece of meat. It's just that they can't swallow this meat. They can only look at each other and immediately transmit their voice to each other. A genius came in. It seems that we can't avenge them. They shook their heads. It's okay. When he reaches the third floor, someone will naturally deal with him. Another inspector said. Yes, let him be arrogant for a while. When the time comes, he will know what despair is. They were all transmitting their voices to each other, but none of them said it out loud. Who else? Yi Tianyun glanced around coldly. Many cultivators bowed their heads and didn't dare to look at him. He doesn't need to pretend to be weak now. If he continues to pretend, even a fool will be able to see through him. So he simply burst out and kill these trash. Moreover, he has already collected 3 flame marks, so he can basically leave this place. Most of the cultivators here did not have high cultivation. The truly powerful ones were all above, not here. With his current situation, he needs to kill a lot of inspectors with 2 flame marks to collect 4 flame marks. The number is too low. He estimated that he needs more than 30 to 40 flame marks. Chapter 795. Facing Yi Tianyun's domineering aura, no one made a sound. Some of them even retreated a few steps, not daring to get close to him. Yi Tianyun looked at the other inspectors and said disdainfully, "Aren't you going to come down to avenge your companions? We are the inspectors of this place. We are not here to fight and kill." One of the evil spirit race's inspectors stood up, feeling helpless and angry. Trash. A bunch of cowards. If you can't beat them, just say it. Don't talk nonsense with me. How dare you say that you are an inspector and don't know how to fight and kill? What did your companions do before? Didn't they come down anyway? Yi Tianyun spat disdainfully. He was just that domineering. He looked like a guy who was all brawn and no brains. He was more like a young man who was too arrogant and full of pride. His goal would be achieved by making these fellows dislike him. He wanted to make all the evil spirit race his enemy. As for the other cultivators, he had no interest in them. Now that he had used other bloodline powers to conceal his King of the Heavens bloodline power, he believed that the other party wouldn't be able to see through it. They would only think that he had a decent dragon god bloodline power. Every word a coward and trash, constantly teasing their nerves, trying to provoke them. They were indeed provoked. The ancient underworld divine pagoda was their territory now. Even if they couldn't set the rules, they had absolute power here. But now, someone was trampling on their dignity. In their eyes, the outsiders were their food. How could they not be angry when they were insulted by food? Immediately, an inspector wanted to jump down and fight with him, but he was quickly held back by the other inspectors. This kid is a madman. He has such a high cultivation at such a young age. He is really arrogant. In my opinion, his cultivation should be at level 2 or 3 of the Void Spirit stage. We can't deal with him with our current strength. You must calm down. You will die if you go down, one of the inspectors said to them. Many of them calmed down. They were extremely angry, but they had to say that they would die if they went down. Let's go. After saying that, the patrol envoy could only choose to leave this place. There was nothing he could do about losing face. Who asked him to be weaker than Yi Tianyun? After they left, Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. It seemed like goading them was useless. However, if he were to maintain his original state, the other party would also quickly realize that something was wrong. One was a coincidence, but what about the second? What if the third one was killed? Even the stupidest person would know that there was a problem. They were blinded by anger, but that didn't mean that no one was calm. This was the best proof that he would not come down to challenge Yi Tianyun. When many people saw this, they immediately booed. They felt that the patrol envoy really did not have the guts to continue the challenge. But if it was them, they wouldn't dare to challenge him. Yi Tianyun was too powerful. He could easily kill a peak core transformation stage cultivator, which meant that the gap between them was not small. After Yi Tianyun walked up, Fan Shuoxuan immediately rushed up to him and said in surprise, "Big brother Yi, you are so amazing. I didn't expect that you were pretending before, I thought you were really injured." Now, Yi Tianyun's body had already recovered. He pretended to be attacked before, so he only had some superficial wounds. As long as he used his power, he could easily recover. If I can't even deceive you, who can I deceive? Yi Tianyun laughed. You are laughing at me again. Fan Shuoxuan pouted and said, "If you didn't save me, I wouldn't be so easily fooled." Alright, it's almost time for me to go up. It's not a good thing to continue to delay here. Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice, "You can stay here, it's much safer than going up." "I am going up now, I said that I will take it back, and I will take it back." "Who are you? Why are you helping me?" Fan Shuoxuan asked doubtfully. "You will know this soon, and I am not only helping you, but also myself." After speaking, he rubbed Fan Shuoxuan's small head, turned around and walked towards the stairs in the city center, leaving her confused. "Help myself?" Fan Shuoxuan clenched her fist, her eyes shining. "I will catch up soon, since I am here, I will not stay here peacefully." Immediately, she resolutely walked to the side of the arena, ready to fight in the arena. Yi Tianyun did not take Fan Shuoxuan step by step, not because he was heartless, but because it was undoubtedly easier to move alone. There are so many rules here, if anything happens, he will not be able to help. Staying on the first floor is a bit safer. Soon, he arrived in front of the spiral staircase. The huge staircase is hundreds of feet wide, and just like that, he went up. Right now, there were quite a few cultivators climbing up. They had all reached 2 flame imprints, so they could directly climb up. But when going up, it still looks so difficult. Climbing up is also a kind of training. Yi Tianyun did not pay attention to them, lifted his foot and walked up. Just as he stepped on the staircase, the flame imprint on his arm flashed. Only then did he pass through the restriction, successfully stepping on the staircase. If he did not meet the standard, he would probably be sent flying out. Just as he entered, he felt a force of gravity on his body, making it more difficult for him to walk. However, this little bit of pressure was of no use to him. He immediately walked up quickly. In an instant, he surpassed the others. Everyone looked at him dumbfounded. Others had to work to death to climb up. Why is Yi Tianyun so easy? Yi Tianyun could not be bothered with their gazes, quickly climbing up to the second floor. On the way, he also saw the patrollers, who immediately revealed angry expressions when they saw Yi Tianyun, wanted to shout something, but Yi Tianyun had already disappeared without a trace. They could not even catch up, they could only angrily jump behind him. It has to be said that climbing up is really far. Even with his astonishing sprinting speed, it took him a few incense sticks of time to rush to the second floor. He had just reached the second floor. The spiritual power here is much better than the first floor. The environment is no different from the bottom, surrounded by green mountains and clear waters, another small world. Are you new? Do you want to join our sect? No, it's to join our sect. People immediately rushed over from the side of the staircase. Seeing unfamiliar faces, they immediately tried to rope him in. Yi Tianyun directly ignored them, directly rushing to the third floor, without any intention of stopping. He directly ignored the second floor, not even looking at it, not even bothering to stay a second longer in this city. What's going on? Isn't he new? How did he directly jump to the third floor? What the hell? Chapter 796. The rules of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda were different in the past. The rules of the second level had not changed much. The second level had the most people. Their cultivations were all around the core transformation stage. The first thing they needed to do was to join a camp. There were a lot of miscellaneous things. The key was that they could not force challenges. Everyone had to observe each other. Only after understanding each other thoroughly could they challenge each other. It was definitely not a problem to take it slow. However, he did not like this. It was too much of a waste of time. After knowing this, Yi Tianyun decided to rush to the third level. After reaching the third level, he could force challenges. The other party could not refuse. The first two levels did not have such mandatory challenges. The main point was to protect the weak disciples. That was why there were such rules. If someone knew that you were strong, no one would accept the challenge. This was originally a very good rule. It was a good rule to train new disciples. However, it was different now. It was simply a rubbish rule. If someone with a strong cultivation entered and no one accepted the challenge, how could he continue? How could he collect the flame brand? Therefore, he needed to join a camp. If he wanted to go up, he could send someone from the camp to give the flame brand. He just needed to lose on purpose. After all, losing the flame brand would not kill him. If he lost in the second level, he would recover a flame brand and be kicked back to the first level. The third level was the same. He would lose a flame brand and be demoted to the second level. However, there was one exception. If he killed the opponent directly, all the flame brands of the opponent would belong to him. He could immediately obtain more flame brands. Killing was the best way to earn the most flame imprints. This was why he was able to successfully obtain the third flame imprint after killing the 3 patrolmen. If he defeated or surrendered normally, he would need to defeat 10 opponents with 2 flame brands to successfully obtain a flame brand. He was not a reckless person. Therefore, when he was preparing to fight, he had a general understanding of the situation. If he wanted to save time, the best way was to obtain 3 flame brands in one go. This way, he could directly go up to the third level and save a lot of time. After reaching the third level, he could force challenges. This forced challenge could not be done at any time. There were a few conditions that had to be met. First, the first condition was that he was not injured. Second, he could not accept any challenge that week. Third, he had no chance to refuse. Everyone had a chance to refuse. If they ran out of chances, they could only bite the bullet and accept it. However, after the battle, they would have a week to recover. During this time, they could reject any challenges. If they kept challenging him, it would be hard for him to stay alive. There were many rules, and all aspects were very fair. Thus, it was very easy to ascend from the third floor. It was not like the second floor, where one would be continuously rejected and unable to obtain the third flame brand. It could be said that it was very awkward. Soon, he arrived at the third layer. As soon as he arrived, he was greeted by an even denser spiritual energy and life force. Compared to the bottom, it was several times denser. The higher he went, the denser the spiritual power and life force became. This way, both his cultivation speed and recovery speed would increase. No wonder he was only given a week of rest. Unless it was a broken arm or leg, it would not be a problem for him to recover in a week. A new face. When the cultivators on the side of the stairs saw Yi Tianyun coming up, they all looked at him up and down. Soon after, when he realized that he did not have any camp emblems on him, he was a little confused. Which faction are you from? Obviously, they were here to pick someone up. Only by grouping up with other factions could they continue to move up. They would send whoever they liked up first, so that they could occupy the territory above. This method was very normal. After all, the higher one went, the more power they would obtain, and the more benefits they could obtain. The ancient Ming Divine Pagoda had very complete rules. It was completely an excellent place to train disciples. The flame brand on one's arm could be exchanged for some treasures and martial arts. Different levels of flame brands could be exchanged for different things. Similarly, the cultivation places that could be exchanged for were also different. The more flame brands one used, the more benefits they would obtain. However, he was not interested at all. Now, he just wanted to kill his way up. Apart from that, he did not have any other thoughts. I don't come from any faction. Now, I want to challenge the floor master of this place. Yi Tianyun looked calm. From the third floor onward, there would be a floor master here. As long as he defeated him, he would be able to become the floor master. At that time, he would be able to obtain more power, and more importantly, he would be able to obtain flame brands faster. Challenge the floor master. You want to challenge the floor master? Their expressions were strange. This newcomer had just come up, and he wanted to challenge the floor master. This was no longer overestimating his own capabilities, but rather, he was out of his mind. Yi Tianyun could not be bothered with them. Instead, he swept his gaze across, and his appraisal eye quickly enveloped this area. The area near the stairs was actually the city area of the third floor, and the structure was basically the same. As long as there were enough flame brands, one could keep climbing up, and they would all be stacked up. Soon, he locked onto a palace in the city. There was a cultivator sitting inside, devouring other cultivators. If this was not the evil spirit race, who else could it be? Yi Tianyun's gaze turned cold, and he quickly rushed toward the palace. Before the cultivators beside him could react, Yi Tianyun had already disappeared from their sight, leaving them looking at each other in dismay. Soon, he arrived in front of the palace. Just as he approached, a cultivator immediately intercepted him and said angrily, "Who are you?" No one knew who the intruder was, but Yi Tianyun had already bypassed them and easily entered the palace. The rules of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda forbade fighting outside the competition grounds, and those who violated the rules would be punished. However, he did not attack them and directly bypassed them. As soon as he entered, he saw that there was a bloody scene in front of him. On the throne in front of him, there was a large amount of blood flowing down the stairs, dyeing a large area red. There were many corpses lying on the side, and there were also many skeletons thrown at the side. It was a horrifying sight. The key was that the floor master was eating a female cultivator bit by bit. That cultivator was still alive, and her eyes were filled with pain, but she could not make a sound. She could only let out whimpering sounds. Her tongue had been cut off, so she definitely could not even make a sound. Seeing this scene, Yi Tianyun was not surprised. Not to mention that the floor master of the third floor was from the evil spirit race. All the floor masters of the entire ancient Ming Divine Pagoda were from the evil spirit race, and they firmly controlled all the lifelines. It could be said that whoever challenged the floor master would definitely die. Chapter 797. When someone suddenly rushed in and saw through Qin Sheng's true appearance, he was immediately enraged. He threw the cultivator in his hand to the side, and with a "pa" sound, she fell heavily to the ground. However, just as she was about to fall to the ground, a wave of energy enveloped the cultivator, lifted her up, and then slowly lowered her. She did not suffer a strong impact. If she had been hit, she would have died without a doubt. But now that she had not fallen to her death, she was almost there. Most of her body had been eaten, and she was bleeding non-stop. She looked like she was on the verge of death. Her eyes were gray and shrouded in a layer of despair. When she saw Yi Tianyun rushing in to save her, there was an additional hint of hope in her despairing gaze. A mere human actually dares to barge in. Who gave you the guts? Qin Sheng was furious. He did not expect his true appearance to be seen. How could he not be angry? Following that, the guards outside quickly ran in and intercepted Yi Tianyun. They surrounded him tightly, not wanting him to leave this place. Aren't the two of you humans? I didn't expect this so-called floor master to be an evil spirit race. Do you know what kind of race the evil spirit race is? Other than their own race, they will devour everyone else. If you are not careful, one day you will be eaten. Yi Tianyun looked at the two guards with an ice-cold gaze. These two guards were not from the evil spirit race, but from the human race. As the guards here, they could obtain rewards. There were many ways to obtain the flame imprint here, and being a guard here was one of them. The two guards did not even look back. Instead, they glared at him and said, "Do we need you to teach us what to do?" With that, the two guards picked up their weapons and attacked Yi Tianyun fiercely. As the guards here, they had the authority to expel intruders. A group of people who have been bewitched, how pitiful. Yi Tianyun turned his fist into a palm and gently waved it in front of him. A sharp light flashed and pierced through their necks, causing them to freeze on the spot. Puchi, then, their heads fell from their necks, and their corpses fell to the ground with a thud. Blood flowed endlessly, dyeing the ground red. The flame marks on their hands quickly drilled over and deepened the flame mark on Yi Tianyun's arm. Yi Tianyun was not punished. The guards here could attack intruders, but it was equivalent to entering the arena mode. If the other party was killed, Yi Tianyun would not be punished. Interesting. I don't know how you found out about our true identities, but you're dead meat today. The story master Qin Sheng walked down the stairs step by step, and a huge axe immediately appeared in his hand. With a whoosh sound, the terrifying fire of the netherworld rose up and rushed to the top of the palace. The 4 flame imprints on his arm proved that he was not as simple as a rank 3, but a rank 4. In addition to the power of a story master, his power erupted crazily. It's just that no matter how much strength he used, he could only reach the 6th level of Void Spirit stage. To him, it's just trash. In the first floors, it was normal to have a cultivation at this level, but from the 4th floor and above, there were many experts. He wanted to rush up and kill those powerful evil spirit race in one go, but with the rules here, he could only climb up step by step. Boom! In the next moment, the story master Qin Sheng flew up, raised the huge axe, and released the power of the flame imprints on his arm, doubling his strength again. Because of his identity as a story master, he could use the power of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda to strengthen himself. If the ancient Ming Divine King was here, he would have vomited blood. Originally, this was used to deal with the evil spirit race, but now it was used by the evil spirit race. It was really sad. Die, trash human. You'll be our food for the rest of your lives. Qin Sheng slashed down. The extremely cold fire of the netherworld turned into a demon and swallowed him up. Boom! Yi Tianyun did not even dodge. He just looked at the attack, and in an instant, he was enveloped by the flame and swallowed. Then, the holy weapon came down. Even if he was frozen into an ice sculpture, he still wanted to break it. Bang! A terrifying power swept out from the fire of the netherworld. The fire of the netherworld that originally covered this area was instantly dispersed, and then a terrifying scene appeared. Yi Tianyun held the blade of the huge axe with one hand. The sharp blade had no effect on him at all, and his right hand that was holding the huge axe was not injured at all. This power, you. Qin Sheng was shocked. He did not expect that the attack he had used all his strength to have no effect on Yi Tianyun at all. He was even holding the axe in his hand and could not cut it at all. He had used all his strength, but he could not do anything at all. Level Master Qin, something bad has happened. A human is rushing up from below, and he can easily crush our patrolling envoy. Through the estimation, he may reach the void spirit stage or above. If he continues to cultivate, his cultivation will be stronger, and the taste will. An evil spirit race guard walked out of the palace and reported the news he had received as he walked. When he walked out, he was shocked to see the strange situation in front of him. That's him. The guard was holding an image in his hand. From the image that was transmitted from below, he could clearly see that it was Yi Tianyun's appearance. But it was all too late. Yi Tianyun had already fought with Qin Sheng. Unless a winner was decided, the competition would not end. You said that we will be your food for the rest of our lives. Yi Tianyun sneered and said, trash like you are worthy of that. No matter how weak we are not willing to become your food even if we perish together with you. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly grabbed the huge axe and spun in the air, holding the axe handle tightly. He aimed the axe at Qin Sheng and chopped down. The sharp cold light was like the twinkling stars in the sky, cutting through the night sky. Open for me. 2 arms immediately grew out of Qin Sheng's back. 4 arms followed and tried to grab the axe, trying to block the axe. But his speed was too slow, and his strength was even more fragile. The heavy axe chopped from head to toe, cutting Qin Sheng in half. It was not difficult at all, as if it was cutting a piece of tofu. The 4 arms that blocked the huge axe were cut to the side. The cut was smooth, and it was very terrifying. Ding, successfully killed Story Master Qin Sheng, obtained experience. What he obtained was not important. What was important was that the flame mark flew out and entered his arm. On the original 3 flame marks, there was 1 more, successfully becoming 4 flame marks. The key was that there was a special dark blue circle on this flame mark, which meant that he was the 3rd Story Master. Chapter 798. Yi Tianyun was not happy at all after killing Qin Sheng. This was because this was just the beginning. Becoming a floor master was only the first step to being able to compete with the evil spirit race. After becoming a floor master, he would expand the scope of the forced challenge and obtain more power and power. The most important thing was that only a floor master could challenge a higher floor master. To be precise, a challenge between a floor master and a floor master could not be rejected and had to be accepted. This was the main reason why he chose to become a floor master. It was to be able to forcefully challenge. If it was someone else challenging, the floor master could easily reject it, but if it was a floor master challenging, he could not reject it. Simply put, for example, a floor master could reject a challenge at will. Although there was a limit to the number of times, he could skip the loopholes in the rules. For example, he could immediately find a weak person to challenge him. After agreeing to the challenge, he would immediately have a week to rest. At that time, if the cycle continued, the cultivators who wanted to challenge the floor master could only retreat helplessly. However, challenging a floor master was different. He had to accept the challenge. If the battle had just ended, it would definitely be the challenger's turn in a week. Yi Tianyun had not investigated carefully, but he believed that the position of the floor master was definitely in the hands of the evil spirit race. There were no exceptions. This was the logic behind the guard's reminder just now. He could not let this position fall, or else it would be very easy for trouble to occur. However, it was all too late. Qin Sheng accepted the challenge in anger and was easily split into 2, replacing him as the floor master. What did you say? Yi Tianyun turned to look at the guard, his gaze cold. "Come, accept the challenge, trash." In an instant, the entire area was enveloped by a barrier, trapping the guard within. He could either escape or die here. There was no other choice. Surrender was useless. Only by leaving this place could he surrender. The guard's heart turned cold. He turned around and fled, wanting to escape from this battlefield. However, everything was too slow. Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and was already in front of him, swinging the giant axe in his hand. "No!" The guard screamed and subconsciously reached out to block the attack of the giant axe. Even the two arms that grew out from his back were blocked. However, this resistance was futile. The violent giant axe cut the guard in half, and blood splattered everywhere. Following that, the flame brand on the guard's body drilled into his arm and formed a faint mark on the fifth flame brand. This guard only had 3 flame imprints, so he could only obtain a bit of it. Even if he killed it, it would still be the same. This was just like leveling up. Leveling up required 10,000 EXP. When he was at a lower level, he would level up immediately by killing a higher level monster. When he was at a higher level, he would only receive a small portion of the EXP from killing a higher level monster. Only by killing those with more flame brand points could one quickly obtain the flame brand. This is the privilege of a story master. Very good, Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. This was similar to punishment. The floor master had the right to judge. If he found someone displeasing to the eye or if someone violated the rules, he could challenge them to a trial. During the trial, the other party also had the right to kill, just like how Yi Tianyun killed those guards. They were guards here, and they also had the right to judge. It was just that the number of times they had the right to judge was different at different levels. Right now, he had the right to judge 3 times. This meant that he could judge anyone 3 times. However, it had to be less than the number of flame imprints he had. The most heaven-defying thing was that regardless of whether the other party had just finished fighting or was seriously injured, he had to forcefully accept the challenge. Unless the other party hid in the cultivation room and didn't come out, he would immediately accept the challenge once he came out. After all, this was a trial, not a competition. There was no need to wait for the other party to catch their breath before slowly challenging them. 3 trials a month and the right to kill at will could be said to be heaven-defying. The cultivator lying there was the best proof. Forcefully judge the other party, then capture and eat him. The ancient Ming divine pagoda was very inflexible. As long as the rules were followed, it didn't matter. During the trial, it didn't matter how one ate the other party. There were exactly 3 people below. One of them didn't die, and that was the cultivator that Yi Tianyun had saved previously. Yi Tianyun hurried over, equipped the longevity necklace and ring, and quickly healed the cultivator. However, the cultivator's injuries were too serious. The evil spirit race not only devoured the body, but also the soul. Especially since he had lost a lot of blood, he was basically on the verge of death. The longevity necklace could increase the recovery speed, but it didn't mean that it could bring the dead back to life. It was too difficult for a dying person. Unless he gathered the set, there was really no way to do it. Thank you for killing him. The female cultivator smiled faintly. Even though she was unwilling to die, at least she could see her enemy die before she died. After saying that, she was completely dead. She should have died earlier, but she was hanging on with her last breath. After seeing Yi Tianyun kill Qin Sheng, she heaved a sigh of relief. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and then he shook his head and stood up. Very quickly, the corpses were enveloped by flames, and they disappeared on the spot. No one knew where they had been teleported to. Continue. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and he turned around and walked out. As soon as he walked out, many people immediately rushed up to him. Just now, there was the sound of an intense battle coming from the palace. Many cultivators wanted to go in and see who was so bold to challenge the story master. The power of the story master was too strong. Coupled with the enhancement of the ancient Ming divine pagoda, he had to be at least 1 or 2 levels stronger than Qin Sheng to be able to defeat him. Unexpectedly, as soon as they rushed over, they saw someone coming out from inside. Story Master. When they saw the mark on Yi Tianyun's arm, they immediately recognized that Yi Tianyun had become a story master. They were extremely shocked. Everything had happened too quickly. Before they could react, he had already become a story master. They didn't even know what was going on. How long had it been? It had only been a few minutes, and everything was over. Yi Tianyun glanced at them coldly, immediately scaring them away. Then, without saying anything, he walked up the stairs. There were no people from the evil spirit race present, so he didn't care about their reactions. Right now, he wanted to challenge a story master of a higher level. Stop! How dare you kill story master Qin Sheng? Do you know what you have done? At this time, a cultivator rushed over from the side. The necklace on Yi Tianyun's chest immediately flashed with red light, which meant that this person was from the evil spirit race. Judgment. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. As soon as he gave the order, a layer of shield immediately enveloped him and the cultivator who rushed over. Before the other party could react, an axe came over and split him into 2 on the spot. Chapter 799. A person who came over to criticize Yi Tianyun was immediately split into 2 halves by the trial, scaring the onlookers to take a few steps back. With just a slight criticism, he was split into 2. Wasn't this a little too angry? We just came over to take a look. We don't have the slightest bit of enmity towards you. They were so scared that they hurriedly explained, worried that they would be killed by Yi Tianyun. How could Yi Tianyun possibly kill them? If that person wasn't from the evil spirit race, he wouldn't even bother to kill him. It was a pity that after these people died, they were quickly teleported away. Otherwise, they would have revealed their true bodies so that they could see them. Do you know about the evil spirit race? Yi Tianyun asked. Evil spirit race? I'm not too sure. They shook their heads. They knew very little about the evil spirit race, and it could be said that they did not know anything about it. It had been thousands of years since the great war of the demons and beasts. Ordinary powers had long since perished, let alone any inheritances. As for these records that were not considered extremely important, very few people left them behind. Compared to those martial arts, more people were willing to leave behind martial arts, and this history was slowly forgotten. Other than a few big powers, most of them didn't know much about it. Some big powers wouldn't even mention this matter. This was a dark matter from a long time ago, so there was no need to talk about it. Most people felt that it was already in the past, so they didn't mention it. It was normal for the rogue cultivators in front of them to not know about it. There were many rogue cultivators here, or experts from some powers. There were very few people who knew about it, so there was no need to force it. You will know very soon. They are the enemies of our 3 realms. After Yi Tianyun finished speaking, he turned and walked towards the 4th floor. They looked at Yi Tianyun's departing figure in confusion, feeling that it was a little strange. What evil spirit race? They did not know anything about it. With the passage of time, too much of history was either forgotten or ignored. The key was that the evil spirit race had hidden themselves too well. They all thought that they were the same kind, so they did not have much resistance. Of course, there was no lack of guards from before. Even if they knew that the floor master ate people, they would still ignore him. This meant that they already knew about it and even tacitly approved of it. This kind of person was no different from a traitor. In the future, he would definitely be an obstacle to them. After Yi Tianyun left, people quickly rushed over. They were all evil spirit race experts, and when they saw that it was already over, they were immediately stunned. Hurry up and report this. There's an emergency. The 3rd floor's floor master has fallen. Tell the floor masters above to be more vigilant. They all sent people up to transmit the message. They didn't need to climb the stairs to transmit the message. It took a lot of effort to climb the stairs. The difficulty was not small, and it took a lot of time. The best way was to send a message to the higher-ups so that they could quickly understand the situation. However, there were some things that could not be done. A large number of flame imprints could come down from above, but a small number of flame imprints couldn't go beyond the level of their own flame imprints. Yi Tianyun continued to walk upwards. His speed was neither fast nor slow. The pressure on this level was a bit stronger than the one below, but the difficulty was still not a problem. If his cultivation was a little lower, this could be said to be a top-notch training ground. But his cultivation was too strong now. To him, it was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. However, he knew that this was the calm early stage. In the later stages, a fierce battle was unavoidable. To be able to force away the people from the ancient Nether Divine Kingdom, one could imagine how terrifying it was. Very quickly, he arrived at the top of the 4th floor. Without exception, the spiritual energy here was even denser. As soon as he arrived, someone welcomed him. New face, which camp are you from? The familiar question was the same as below. Every level had a cultivator's camp. If it wasn't for the protection of the rules, so many of them would have been devoured. This was equivalent to a sheep entering a tiger's mouth. How could the evil spirit race not eat it? No camp. Yi Tianyun threw out a sentence and went straight to the palace where the floor master was. No camp. Another one without a camp. How did these guys get up here? Did they fight their way up here alone? This is really strange. Just now, there was a fiery woman who didn't have a camp, and now there's another one. She even went to challenge the floor master recklessly. Even if she wants to die, there's no need to do this, right? Don't tell me this kid is also going to challenge the floor master. Look, there's a floor master's mark on his arm. He's the 3rd floor master. Oh my god, he actually killed Qin Sheng. Looks like he's going to challenge the floor master Qin Jian. If Qin Jian knew that his brother was killed, wouldn't he be furious? He's so much stronger than his brother. This kid is really bold. They discussed behind him and looked at Yi Tianyun with pitiful eyes. They felt that he was going to die. If it were them, they wouldn't do this. How good would it be to stay in the 3rd floor and enjoy more power as the floor master? A fiery woman. Yi Tianyun frowned. He suddenly thought of a woman who was really fiery. However, he didn't care about it and went straight to the floor master's palace. He didn't want to waste any time. Along the way, he saw that there was a sharp decrease in the number of cultivators here. The main reason was that those who could come up here were all experts with high cultivation. Most of them were above the void spirit stage, and the weakest was above the core transformation stage. Those who could come up here were definitely not low cultivation. Although there were not many of them, there were still a lot of them. He felt that if he accumulated all of them, he would be able to crush any divine kingdom's forces. However, this was just a thought. With so many experts, it would be difficult to rule them all. The evil spirit race had been pretending to be humans for so long, but they still couldn't rule this place. Boom! 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 At this time, the palace in the distance began to erupt with amazing power. The netherworld fire flashed in the sky, but vaguely, a violent flame could be seen suppressing the opponent's netherworld fire. Immortal fire? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. The flame that could suppress the netherworld fire was the immortal fire. So far, he only knew one person who could use the immortal fire, and that was Bai Shui Huang. Based on what he heard from those people before, it should be Bai Shui Huang. He thought of Bai Shui Huang as a fiery woman. He did things swiftly and decisively. If she was really here, she would really be scared. Yi Tianyun sped up his pace and walked towards the palace. The palace gate was not blocked, and the others could enter to observe the situation. As soon as he stepped in, he saw Bai Shui Huang and Qin Jian fighting. Both of them were at the peak of the Spirit King stage, and they were fighting crazily. The netherworld flame and the inextinguishable flame continued to collide, one hot and one cold. It was simply a stark contrast. Chapter 800. Tianyun only heard about Bai Shuihuang's fiery temper from the cultivators around him, but he didn't expect her to be here. Bai Shuihuang didn't stay in the Phoenix Race's territory, but instead came here from the Phoenix Race's territory. But after thinking about it for a while, he knew why she came here. It's very likely that Bai Shuihuang found out about the situation here and knew that the evil spirit race was dominating this place, so she came here to kill the evil spirit race. The Phoenix race and the evil spirit race were enemies, and now that they are in a stable state, they will definitely take the initiative to eliminate the evil spirit race. Tianyun looked up and found that there was indeed another Phoenix race cultivator on the side. It was Shopkeeper Yi. He didn't expect that Shopkeeper Yi would come with him, and he even killed his way to the 4th floor. It's very likely that the other elders are also here. With their powerful cultivation, it's not difficult for them to achieve a good result here. But they didn't come here to look for opportunities, they came here to destroy the evil spirit race. They can't let the evil spirit race continue to grow. Boom! Bai Shuihuang and Qin Jian collided again. The netherworld fire and the immortal fire collided again. It's reasonable to say that the immortal fire should be able to suppress the netherworld fire, but who knew that the netherworld fire would win? Especially when the two of them had the same cultivation, Bai Shuihuang actually lost. What a rich Phoenix bloodline. I didn't expect the Phoenix race to come here in person. Then I won't be polite. Qin Jian laughed loudly, and the power of the 5 flame marks on his arm burst out and superimposed on his body. It was because of the Floor Lord's authority and the power of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda that he was able to suppress the immortal fire. If it weren't for this power, Qin Jian wouldn't have the strength to laugh, and he would have already been slapped to the ground. Qin Jian's eyes were filled with the desire to devour. The Phoenix bloodline was a great supplement for him, so he didn't mind devouring it. Even if the immortal fire was his nemesis, under the suppression of the Floor Lord's authority, it would still be suppressed. As for Bai Shuihuang, she couldn't use the netherworld fire. The two flames couldn't be fused, and there was some conflict between them. Because of this, Bai Shuihuang could only passively take a beating. The two of them continued to attack each other, but Bai Shuihuang was constantly suppressed. If this continues, Bai Shuihuang's situation will become very serious, and she may even die. Upon closer inspection, Qin Jian had forced her back, but he had not forced her out of the arena. This meant that she had lost. This was not the result he wanted. Bai Shuihuang would undoubtedly be able to escape from here without being killed by him. With that ugly face of yours, you can cultivate for another 100 years. Of course, Bai Shuihuang wouldn't give up, so she summoned the immortal flame again, and the phoenix's shadow appeared behind her. Bai Shuihuang brandished her claws to resist the netherworld fire. Ugly face. If you're still so stubborn now, I'll slowly enjoy your pained expression later. Qin Jian's eyes revealed a sinister look, but more of it was a look of greed. There. The netherworld fire's effect increased again, and the powerful netherworld fire continued to pour into his body, enhancing his strength. This is my territory, and your Phoenix clan won't be able to cause any trouble here. Qin Jian laughed and continued to attack fiercely, constantly waving the giant axe in his hand. The giant axe was the same as his brother's, and it was a good sacred tool. Qin Jian swung the axe again and again, trying to cut Bai Shuihuang in half. Every time, Bai Shuihuang used her amazing speed to dodge the attack, otherwise, she would really be hit. As time passed, cold sweat kept appearing on Bai Shuihuang's forehead, but it was quickly evaporated by the heat wave. From this point, it could be seen that if Bai Shuihuang continued to fight, she would definitely lose. Patriarch, retreat. Shopkeeper Yi hurriedly shouted. He didn't want Bai Shuihuang to continue fighting. Bai Shuihuang gritted her teeth. She knew that if she persisted, she might lose here. But she didn't want to admit defeat, she wanted to kill this group of scum. Patriarch, that's enough, leave it to me. At this time, Yi Tianyun stood up, and suddenly, many people's eyes focused on him. They wanted to see who was so arrogant. Divine Envoy. When shopkeeper Yi saw Yi Tianyun, he was shocked. He really didn't expect Yi Tianyun to appear here. Bai Shuihuang glanced at Qin Jian and immediately shouted. The immortal fire in her body rose again, turning into a huge phoenix and rushed forward. She didn't expect that she would be able to use it again at this time. Boom! Qin Jian was sent flying. He didn't expect that Bai Shuihuang, who looked like an arrow at the end of its flight, could still display such amazing power. Bai Shuihuang didn't want to continue fighting. She turned around and quickly rushed out of the arena. As soon as she rushed out, the shield disappeared, indicating that the battle was over. At the same time, the flame mark on Bai Shuihuang's hand flew towards Qin Jian's arm. The flame mark on Bai Shuihuang's arm disappeared, and now there were 3 flame marks. I'll leave it to you. Bai Shuihuang smiled happily, and the next moment, she disappeared. She wasn't killed, but she was teleported to the 3rd floor. There were less than 4 flame brands on her arm, so she did not have the qualifications to stay on the 4th floor. Fortunately, if she admitted defeat, she would only lose 1 flame brand, so she could still stay on the 3rd floor and not directly fall to the 1st floor. I didn't expect that girl to run away. Qin Jian walked out of the explosion with a face full of annoyance. He thought that he could defeat Bai Shuihuang, but he didn't expect that she would run away. It was equivalent to losing a duck that was in his hand, so he couldn't be happy. Yi Tianyun's eyes are focused on Qin Jian's body. He lifted his foot and walked towards the arena. Every step is so heavy. I will challenge you on behalf of the 100 clan leader. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Not interested. You don't even have the Phoenix bloodline, it's not interesting at all. Qin Jian waved his hand. He wasn't interested at all. I don't know if you're interested. Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand, and there was a mark on the 3rd flame mark, which meant that he was the 3rd floor's floor lord. The 3rd floor's floor lord. After Qin Jian saw it, his eyes immediately turned red. You killed my brother. Chapter 801. You actually killed my brother. Qin Jian was furious. He raised his giant axe and roared, You trash of the bottom of the human race, how dare you kill my brother, I want you dead. Enraged, the barrier around them immediately rose and enveloped the 2 of them. This meant that the competition had officially begun, and there was no difficulty at all. When Yi Tianyun knew that Qin Jian was Qin Jian's brother, he knew that Qin Jian would be easily angered by him, and he wouldn't even need to wait a week to challenge him. When these evil spirit races were enraged, it was very easy for them to lose their minds, especially those who were used to being domineering. Many people have killed me, but no matter how I die, I will not die in the hands of your trash evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun sneered. His hands were still behind his back. He didn't have any intention to fight at all. The surrounding cultivators were full of doubts. They didn't know what kind of race Yi Tianyun was talking about. They had never heard of the evil spirit race before. If our evil spirit race is trash, then your human race is simply the trash among the trash. Qin Jian was furious. He swung his giant axe towards Yi Tianyun. The 5 flame marks on his arm quickly burst out. The power was even more powerful than when he was fighting Bai Shuihuang. He was completely angry, especially when the other party was the enemy who killed his brother. How could he not be angry? Ghost Nether devours the sky. Qin Jian roared. All of his strength burst out. Countless ghost flames covered his body, and poured into the giant axe in his hand, gathering into an even bigger giant axe. He didn't care about his identity being exposed. After all, most people didn't know what kind of race the evil spirit race was, and even if they knew, he wasn't worried at all. He was full of anger now. He just wanted to kill Yi Tianyun, nothing else. Divine Messenger, be careful of his power. He is the floor lord here. He can control the power here. Shopkeeper Yi shouted from the side, reminding Bai Shuihuang that Bai Shuihuang suffered a big loss just now. If it was outside, Qin Jian would definitely be suppressed, but here, Qin Jian was slightly better, it was beyond their imagination. Yi Tianyun turned a deaf ear to Qin Jian's words and stood in place. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he faced Qin Jian, who was about to strike down. Do you think that you can suppress everything with the power of the ancient underworld divine pagoda with this trashy power of fire? Naive. With a shake of his arm, the netherworld flames quickly surged from the 4 flame marks on his arm. Seeing this scene, the surrounding cultivators looked at him as if he was an idiot. Even though Yi Tianyun's flames were not bad, but it was 5 fire brands against 4 fire brands. The result was obvious. The more flame imprints he had, the stronger the flame energy he could control. Therefore, the story master position was always guarded by stronger cultivators. Basically, they could intimidate most cultivators so that they would not dare to challenge them. For example, most of the people in the 3rd floor were at the core transformation stage, but the floor master was at the void spirit stage. Most of the 4th floor's cultivators were at the void spirit stage, and the floor lord was at the peak of spirit king stage. I think you are even more naive. Qin Jian's giant axe is already swinging towards Yi Tianyun. He wants to cut him in half. No matter what kind of power he has, his only goal now is to kill Yi Tianyun. Xiao. The sound of the axe cutting through the dense spiritual power in the surrounding air almost tore the space apart. Fortunately, the space here was stable enough, otherwise, it would have been split in half. However, even if the space was not split in half, the surrounding spiritual power was still being sucked into the space and was heading towards Yi Tianyun at the same time. Yi Tianyun gently raised his hand and pinched the giant axe in front of him. Bang! The giant axe that was coming towards Yi Tianyun stopped abruptly. Hoo! A gust of wind swept over, but it only slightly blew up the corner of his clothes. It didn't even leave a scratch on his body. Even the terrifying flames of the netherworld were instantly suppressed by the flames of the netherworld in his hands, and even continued to devour the flames in his hands. In less than a moment, the originally vigorous flames of the netherworld on the giant axe were sucked dry. Qin Jian's face instantly turned red. He used all his strength, but he couldn't even move an inch. The cultivators at the side stared with their eyes wide open, their eyeballs almost popping out. Such a terrifying attack was forcefully stopped there with just 2 fingers. If they didn't know that the 2 of them had no relationship and had a grudge against Yi Tianyun for killing his brother, they would have suspected that it was an act. Such a terrifying power was caught just like that. How was this possible? The truth was so terrifying. He caught it with just 1 hand. Didn't you say that we humans are trash? Are you very arrogant? I will let you chop me now. Do you have the ability to chop me? Yi Tianyun looked at him coldly and said, I also killed your brother. You can use your weapon to chop me now. Chop towards my head. Qin Jian kept swinging with all his strength, but it didn't move an inch. Yi Tianyun seemed to be connected to the earth. He couldn't even pull it out, let alone attack. Story Master Qin, Story Master Qin. I just received new information. It's to not recklessly fight with the 3rd floor Story Master. We have to discuss a strategy. A guard hurriedly rushed out. When he saw this scene, he was instantly dumbfounded. Everything was too late. Story Master Qin Jian had already started fighting with Yi Tianyun. It was just that the scene looked a little strange. The 2 of them just froze there, not moving at all. In the next moment, the storage ring on Qin Jian's hand flashed. Another huge axe appeared in his hand. He actually abandoned his own weapon and swapped it for another one. The moment he took it out, he fiercely slashed at Yi Tianyun's waist. Without any nonsense, he directly attacked. Yi Tianyun was even more violent. He grabbed the axe's blade and smashed it forward. The axe's handle, which wasn't sharp at all, turned into a long rod and sent Qin Jian flying. Dong! Like a rubber ball, Qin Jian was sent flying by the rod. He rolled a few times on the ground, and a large part of his chest caved in. If it wasn't the axe's handle but the axe's blade, Qin Jian would definitely be split in half. Is this still the power of the human race? Qin Jian's face paled in fear. He slapped the ground and ran out of the barrier. He already knew that he was no match for Yi Tianyun. If he continued to fight, forget about avenging his brother, he might even lose his life. The power of the human race isn't something you trash can understand. Yi Tianyun clenched his fist. Killing intent flashed across his eyes. He aimed at Qin Jian and punched, firmament icebound fist. Dong! Chapter 802. One punch turned Qin Jian into an ice sculpture, and he even used the netherworld flame. Everyone could clearly sense that Qin Jian no longer had the slightest bit of breath, and it looked like he was completely dead. Ding! Successfully killed Qin Jian. Reward, 360 million EXP, 56,000 CPS, 5,000 SPS. Reward, Evil Spirit Blood, Evil Spirit Axe, Low-Grade Holy Tool, Evil Spirit Bone, Evil Spirit Soul. Yi Tianyun didn't have the time to study the Evil Spirit series. Yi Tianyun decided to study it when he has time. Everyone was stunned. Qin Jian's 5 flame marks are stronger than Yi Tianyun. How can he be suppressed by Yi Tianyun who only has 4 flame marks? Moreover, Qin Jian's netherworld fire is frozen, it is simply unreasonable. But the fact is in front of them, not only is Yi Tianyun's strength crushing Yi Tianyun, even his netherworld fire is crushing Yi Tianyun. This is not netherworld fire, he is using heavenly Yin fire. One of the sharp-eyed people immediately saw it and hurriedly shouted, netherworld fire should be light blue, he is using dark blue flame, it is not the same level of flame at all. This is the legendary heavenly Yin fire. Only a few people can control the heavenly Yin fire. What, heavenly Yin fire? Everyone was surprised, they have never seen heavenly Yin fire before, they only heard about it from the rumors. Rumor has it that after reaching the 7th or 8th floor, there is a chance to control heavenly Yin fire, but they have never gone up there, and the powerhouses above are too lazy to come down. The powerhouses above have all kinds of resources, and the cultivation place is much better than the lower floors. Unless they want to kill their enemy, it is impossible to go down there. The environment below is so bad, there is no point in coming down. Then the flame mark on Qin Jian's arm quickly rushed over and quickly drilled into Yi Tianyun's arm, forming the 5th flame mark. Yi Tianyun successfully condensed the 5th flame mark in such a short time. If the cultivators who have been trapped here for a long time knew about this, what kind of expression would they have? Yi Tianyun didn't answer them, but when Qin Jian was about to be teleported away, he quickly rushed over and kicked the ice sculpture into pieces, turning it into a pile of ice that sprinkled on the ground. When the floor was dyed red with blood, Yi Tianyun was already teleported away. Even if you are teleported away, I will make sure you die without a complete corpse. Yi Tianyun's eyes were ice cold. He could not show mercy to the evil spirit race. Even if he died, he could not let the other party die so comfortably. Soon after, he became the floor master of the 4th floor and had greater control over it. At the same time, the floor master of the 3rd floor became vacant. In order to become the floor master of the 3rd floor, there was no need for a challenge. All one had to do was to go through a certain test. He believed that many cultivators on the 3rd level had sensed the situation over there and were rushing over to take the assessment. Your news is a little too late. Yi Tianyun looked at the guard and smiled, I have to say, your news travels too slowly. But even if it does, it's useless. Being stared at by Yi Tianyun, the guard couldn't help but take a few steps back, his expression extremely ugly. The people around Qin Jian were definitely trusted aides, and because they were trusted aides, they were definitely from the evil spirit race. The guard in front of him was from the evil spirit race and was immediately targeted by him. The next moment, the guard seemed to smell danger, he turned around and ran to the side, but Yi Tianyun's cold voice came from behind. Judgment. In an instant, a barrier enveloped the area, wrapping the guard in it. The cultivators on the side were pushed back by the barrier so that they could expand the area. Immediately, Tianyun didn't do anything, he just threw a fireball and froze the escaping guard into an ice sculpture. With the cultivation of Void Spirit stage, it's not difficult at all. Ding! Successfully killed Trash Guard. Reward, 31 million EXP, 16,000 Crazy Point, 2,000 SPs, obtained Evil Spirit Blood. Every time they kill the Evil Spirit race, the sin value is very high. Obviously, they have done a lot of cruel things, otherwise, they wouldn't be so high. When everyone saw this situation, they suddenly took a deep breath. This is really ruthless, even the trusted aides of the Floor Master are not spared. They didn't know that they killed the evil spirit race, that's why they are so ruthless. Divine Messenger, you are too powerful. Even the power of the Floor Master can't compete with you. Shopkeeper Yi sighed and said, it seems that I am overthinking. When you killed the Imperial Preceptor of the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation, it was easy for you to deal with these evil spirit race. He had shouted out in a moment of desperation. Tianyun nodded and asked directly, are you here to eradicate these evil spirit race this time? Shopkeeper Yi nodded and replied, yes, we found out that there are a lot of evil spirit race here, and they occupy most of the power of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda. Now that the situation of the Phoenix race is stable, we plan to eradicate these evil spirit race. If we continue to let them develop, I am afraid that we will also be threatened. The Phoenix race's thinking is a bit more long-term. Some forces feel that this matter has nothing to do with them, so maybe the evil spirit race will just stay here and not leave. That was utter nonsense. How could they possibly stay here forever? Once they felt that their cultivation was strong enough to conquer the world, they would rush out and crush all the forces like a hot knife through butter. At that time, they might not even be able to react. The Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation is constantly sending people to support their own forces, otherwise, how can they be so powerful? Thinking about it carefully, the Heavenly Netherworld Divine Nation is just a small force established by the evil spirit race outside, the real powerful forces are hiding here. Tianyun guessed that it is very likely that they are trying to control the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda. Once they control this thing, it will be easy to crush the Netherworld. Immediately after, they continued to understand more about the evil spirit race. Generally speaking, they will continue to eradicate the forces of the evil spirit race. In addition to Bai Shui Huang, other elders also came, but not many of them came. If all of them came, then the Phoenix race will really have no guarantee. It's almost time, I will go to the 5th floor now and prepare to challenge the 5th floor master. Tianyun did not continue to stay here, he planned to go to the 5th floor and challenge the 5th floor master. He wants to attack in one breath and challenge the floor master here, so that he can master more power. If he kills his way to the 8th floor, he will be equivalent to an elder, and he will have the power to control most of the situation here. Chapter 803. After Tianyun finished explaining, he quickly rushed to the 5th floor. He doesn't want to drag his feet, he wants to hurry up. Now it was a race against time. He had to conquer the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda in one fell swoop. This was the gate of the ghost world. If the demons attacked and the ghost world fell, they would lose half of the battle. Moreover, even if the evil spirit race didn't attack, the situation was still very serious. If they continued to develop, the ghost world would be occupied by them before the evil spirit race attacked. Soon, he arrived at the 5th floor. The number of people here had decreased sharply. The lowest cultivation level had jumped from core transformation stage to void spirit stage, and spirit king stage cultivators could be seen everywhere. Although the number of people was small, it was still a lot. It's the new kid. He became the 4th floor master so quickly. This is too exaggerated. It's true. He didn't join any camp, but he came here alone. It's unbelievable. It seems that he wants to challenge the 5th floor master. I wonder if Su Zhangming will accept the challenge. They didn't welcome Yi Tianyun this time. They thought that he came from a camp. Obviously, his news had spread throughout the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda. From the first floor to the fourth floor, he became the floor master. Now that he had come to the fifth floor, how could they not be shocked? Fourth floor master, are you here to challenge Su Zhangming? One of them asked with a smile. They didn't know Yi Tianyun's name, so they could only address him as the fourth floor master. They are not afraid that Yi Tianyun will attack them. The power of trial is amazing, but there is also a limit to the number of times it can be used. The key is that they did not provoke Yi Tianyun. Su Zhangming. A foreign demon. Each of them named themselves with the surname of this place. It's really funny. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He knew that the evil spirit race wouldn't call themselves that name, but he knew that he had to adapt to this place. Demon? What's that? They were all confused. You don't know what race they are. Yi Tianyun glanced at the cultivators around him. Even the weakest among them was at the void spirit stage, so they should know a bit more. We don't know about demons, but we do know that they are from the evil spirit race. What's the problem? One of them leaned against a pillar and looked at him indifferently. So it's the evil spirit race. I was wondering what to say, but most of them know that they are the evil spirit race. A race that knows how to devour. I even saw them devour a few cultivators with my own eyes. It's really bloody. One of them laughed as if it had nothing to do with him. Since you know, don't tell me you don't have any ideas. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, staring straight at them. What thoughts can they have? What does it have to do with us how they want to devour? We do our thing, and they eat theirs. As long as they don't disturb us, it's fine. Furthermore, wasn't it just eating some cultivators? It had nothing to do with demonic beasts eating cultivators. It's not like we're the ones eating it. One of them spread his hands, looking indifferent. That's right. As long as you get along well with them, they won't care about you. If you help them do things, you can even get a lot of benefits. What does it matter? Another cultivator spread out his hands and said, the life and death of others has nothing to do with me. I can do whatever I want. Do you think that if you don't provoke them, they won't cause trouble for you? Yi Tianyun's gaze gradually turned cold. He thought that he didn't know, but it turned out that he already knew. However, it seemed that he didn't have any thoughts at all, and even planned to work for them. Brat, are you stupid? Do you think that just because we called you fourth floor master, you're the savior? As long as we don't provoke them, we'll be fine. We've been fine all this time. People often die outside, but you never go and save them. That's right, they are the ones who control the power. If we resist, we will only die. In this day and age, a wise man submits to circumstances. Only by serving them well will there be more benefits. What benefits can we get if we resist them? Or do you give us benefits? They looked at Yi Tianyun disdainfully, their mouths full of ridicule, as if the life and death of others had nothing to do with them. They had long since become numb to it. It could even be said that they had been reduced to being lackeys of the evil spirit race, and they still had to work for them. If he didn't know, it would be understandable. Now that he knew that it was the evil spirit race, not only did he not reject them, he even chose to help them. His heart instantly chilled to the freezing point. Fortunately, this kind of cultivator was not everywhere. Otherwise, everything would be over. He never thought of himself as a savior, but he would definitely not support a power that could destroy his own race at any time. Right now, he was more concerned with saving himself, saving his family and friends. The lives of others indeed had nothing to do with him. That was true. What did the situation of others have to do with him? If he were to save them all, who would be able to save them? However, he would never lower his head to his enemies, nor would he be like a dog that would wag its tail and listen to orders just because there were some benefits. If one day they rule the 3 realms, they will capture your family one by one and eat them when they are hungry. You still choose to support them? Yi Tianyun looked at them coldly. Ha ha ha, are you an idiot? How is that possible? If that day really comes and I serve them well, they will definitely give us a place to live, and they will not kill my family. What does the life and death of others have to do with me? What an idiot, a savior has come. Full of nonsense, judgment. Yi Tianyun's gaze was extremely cold, instantly enveloping the cultivator. The cultivator was shocked. He turned around and fled to the side, but he was too slow. A sharp light had already pierced through the other party's body, and in the blink of an eye, a large hole appeared in his chest. It looked extremely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, he had killed a person. He was furious to the extreme. This was because he remembered the memories that the King of the Heavens had given him. It had to be said that there were also traitors like this at that time. In order to survive, they completely disregarded everyone else. They even mocked and ridiculed those who resisted, saying that it might be better if they submitted to the evil spirit race. There were even some who helped the evil spirit race kill their companions in order to obtain more benefits and status. In the end, what awaited them was to be devoured. There was no reward at all, only devouring. In the eyes of the evil spirit race, the lives of the three realms were incomparably low level, just a pile of trash. Was it possible to let trash stay by his side? What was sad was that they were a group of numb people. A group of traitors thought that by kneeling and licking, they would be able to obtain benefits and status. It truly chilled the hearts of most people. Chapter 804. Without any hesitation, he killed one of the cultivators on the spot. This was not the evil spirit race, it was just a very ordinary cultivator, but the person he killed was this kind of person. Once the evil spirit race carried out a general attack, these people would definitely be the first to become traitors and choose to join the evil spirit race's side. To them, whichever side was stronger, or which side had more benefits, they would immediately run over to join that side. What was the point of leaving such a person behind? It was better to kill him earlier than to leave him behind to harm them. Run, run. Yi Tianyun's actions scared the surrounding cultivators so much that they ran away. They were not very clear about Yi Tianyun's cultivation, but to be able to become the floor master of the fourth floor, he was definitely not a simple person. At the very least, he was much stronger than them. Yi Tianyun looked coldly at the fleeing crowd and did not chase after them. Killing this kind of person would only be a waste of time. He was only furious to the extreme just now, which was why he killed someone to suppress his shock. Then, he raised his foot and walked towards the fifth floor's floor master's palace. His true purpose in coming here was to challenge the fifth floor's floor master. At the same time, two of the cultivators who had run away did not flee back to their own camp, but to the fifth floor's floor master's palace. Lord Su, Lord Su. The two of them hurriedly ran in, and the guards immediately stopped them, not letting them in. What's going on? Su Zhangming just so happened to be sitting on a seat in front of the palace, and there was a person beside him with his head lowered as he said something. Lord Su, the cultivator who killed the two Qin brothers has come up, and he even said a lot of disrespectful words to you. The two of them shouted loudly. Su Zhangming waved his hand, signaling the guards to let them in. He supported his head with his hands and looked at them with interest. Su Zhangming's appearance was just like his name, he looked like a scholar, and his skinny body did not have any traces of the evil spirit race. However, the 6 flame brands on his arm were enough to prove his strength. Disrespectful words, what disrespectful words? Su Zhangming smiled lightly. They said that you are from the evil spirit race, a race of trash. They even said that the lords will devour everyone and occupy the 3 realms. That's right, but we don't believe that. Lord Su is so benevolent that he will give you benefits for helping you. If a fight really breaks out, we will definitely stand on your side. We believe that being with Lord Su is the best choice. They added oil and vinegar to the story, wantonly exaggerating their loyalty, and even revealing that they would choose to stand by Su Zhangming's side when the war began. Su Zhangming stood up, walked down step by step, looked them up and down, and said with a light smile, "Looks like you guys are quite loyal. Even if our evil spirit race were to occupy the three realms, you would still choose to stand on our side and become enemies with your own clansmen?" "That's right. It's the law of the jungle. They are not as strong as you, so it's normal for them to be ruled over. We are willing to be the first to surrender, and we are even more willing to serve you. We are willing to risk our lives for you and work for you. We are willing to do anything for you." All of them were extremely excited. They all wanted to use this matter to choose to join the evil spirit race. Previously, they couldn't join in. They were blocked outside and couldn't enter even if they wanted to. The reason was simple. If they didn't have the qualifications, how could they join? Interesting. Su Zhangming walked over, looked at them and said, "Do you really want to serve me that much?" "Yes, that's right. We only hope to join as soon as possible. Lord Su can give us an official position. We definitely won't betray you, we will listen to your orders." When they saw that there was a chance, they were extremely excited and felt that they had great foresight. Su Zhangming's eyes flashed, and then he lightly spat out, "Judgment." In the next moment, the two of them were enveloped inside. Before the two of them could react, Su Zhangming grabbed one of them. He originally looked like a scholar, but in the blink of an eye, he had turned into a huge demon. He opened his huge mouth and swallowed one of them. He began to chew, and the sound of crunching could be heard throughout the entire palace. How could this be? The other person fell limply to the ground, scared out of his wits. This was simply too terrifying. His companion had been swallowed in the blink of an eye. He didn't even have to spit out his bones to be swallowed just like that. Trash, like you still want to join our camp? You even want to have an official position? Do you think you're worthy? A bunch of trash. If you betray your own people today, you will betray us one day. Moreover, we would need the help of trash like you. You must be dreaming. Su Zhangming's eyes were full of disdain and contempt. From the beginning, they had looked down on the human race, and even all the races in the three realms. Getting them to help was nothing more than speeding up the process. But after the matter was over, they would definitely get rid of all dissidents. The cultivator was so scared that he cried. His heart was green with regret. He didn't expect that what Yi Tianyun said was true. What equality? It was all bullshit. He was just making use of them. When they said that they wanted to work together or become subordinates, the other party was full of disdain and contempt, which made his heart turn cold. Then he quickly got up and fled to the side, wanting to escape from this judgment formation. But how could his cultivation compare to Su Zhangming's speed? In the blink of an eye, Su Zhangming blocked his way. He looked at him coldly and said, "I'll spare your life, but you have to help me do one thing." No problem." The cultivator kept nodding. As long as he could live, he was willing to do anything. Ruin that guy's reputation. Make him your human race's enemy. Su Zhangming said coldly, "Let him know the consequences of going against us." No problem." The cultivator kept nodding. He didn't care what would happen to Yi Tianyun. They only cared about themselves. "Then get out of here." Su Zhangming looked at him in disgust and gestured for him to get out. Staying here was equivalent to polluting the air. Yes. The cultivator hurriedly got up and ran out. But just a few seconds after he ran out, he flew back and rolled on the ground. His chest caved in, and he couldn't be more dead. "You let him go, but I won't let a traitor like him go." A figure walked in from outside. It was Yi Tianyun, who came to challenge him. He looked at Su Zhangming coldly. "I want to challenge you. Do you dare to accept trash?" Chapter 805. The conversation between Su Zhangming and the cultivator was heard by Yi Tianyun from outside. He was not angry, but sad. It was precisely because there were so many of these vermin that the three realms would easily fall into chaos. It was easy for them to change sides or become traitors. They would do anything for the sake of benefits. The key was that the other party would not appreciate it at all and would only devour them mercilessly as their own food. It was like a dog wagging its tail to obey any order, but in the end, it would be eaten. It was worse than a dog. If a dog was obedient, it would definitely eat and drink well. If it obeyed the orders of the evil spirit race, it would only put itself in danger. The evil spirit race had an absolute exclusivity. They would never allow any race to join their camp, and would only completely exclude them. They would not make friends with food, they would only devour it. Challenge me? Do you think you are qualified to challenge me? Su Zhangming sneered, his words were full of disdain. At least I am qualified now. Whether you agree or not, we will see the result in a week. If you agree now, you will know the result immediately. Yi Tianyun looked at him coldly. Detailed data was also presented in front of him. Su Zhangming, evil spirit race's powerhouse, has a very strong evil spirit race bloodline, but also mixed with the bloodline of the ancient underworld god king. Cultivation is at the 4th level of the Saint King stage, good at netherworld fire, has amazing attainments in controlling netherworld fire. He also has 5 flame brands, but his control is stronger, and he can control the stronger heavenly yin fire. Su Zhangming's martial arts include Evil Spirit Descend, Evil Spirit Devour, etc. Weakness is the extreme yang fire. Comprehensive combat power is 4. 5 billion, normal state, superimposed with the terrifying power of the story lord. 5th level of the Saint King stage has 4. 5 billion combat power. One must know that the ordinary Saint King stage powerhouse he fought before was at most 1.7 or 1.8 billion combat power, combined with equipment, it was about 2 billion combat power at most. After the eruption, Su Zhangming's combat power was different, but at least he did not have any weapons. Not to mention weapons, even his clothes were relatively ordinary, and he did not wear any amazing combat equipment. Just this alone had a combat power of 4.5 billion, which was the most heaven-defying Saint King stage 4th level he had ever seen. To be able to stack to such an extent, it was most likely due to the power of the ancient Ming divine pagoda and the astonishing bloodline of the evil spirit race. They only needed to have a little bit of the bloodline of the ancient underworld godly king's descendants. As long as the ancient underworld divine pagoda didn't think that they were from the evil spirit race, that would be enough. The bloodline power of Ji Yang and the others was far weaker than Su Zhangming. It was obvious that the pure evil spirit race were all holed up here to cultivate. Their level was similar to that of those old farts at the bottom of the sea in the mortal world. They were both in a relatively primitive state. However, to him, it was still meaningless. They were all existences that he could crush with a flip of his hand. Su Zhangming sized him up and said in a deep voice, 1 week from now, I will let you know what an ant is. All right. I hope you can still say that in a week. Yi Tianyun didn't waste any time. After the challenge was issued, the ancient Ming divine pagoda would record it down. At that time, there would definitely be a duel. No matter where they were, they would be teleported to the duel. Otherwise, if the other party hid, wouldn't it be impossible to find him? At that time, even if he hid in the cultivation room, he would still be forcibly teleported. Unless he chose to leave the ancient Ming divine pagoda, if he didn't come, he would basically be judged to have lost. After Yi Tianyun left, Su Zhangming frowned and immediately turned his head to look behind him. He said in a deep voice, "What's going on? Why did you ask me to refuse the duel? That kid is so arrogant, I can even smell the bloodline of the King of the Heavens. The King of the Heavens is our enemy." Then a black shadow came out from inside. He had 6 arms on his back, a dark body, and a black luster flowing around his body. Obviously, he was from the evil spirit race. This kid is very strange. His cultivation is not as simple as you think. He is much stronger than you. Sang Yuheng looked at Su Zhangming coldly and said indifferently, "If you want to die, I won't stop you. However, everything is more important. If he continues to climb up and sneaks into the human race, the power will be divided. This is not allowed by the elders. That kid is so strong. That's impossible." Su Zhangming obviously didn't believe it. He was the one who destroyed the heavenly netherworld holy kingdom. Sang Yuheng said indifferently, "Is this enough information?" Su Zhangming was shocked. Yes, they were staying here, but it didn't mean that they didn't know the situation outside. It could even be said that they were very clear about the situation outside. If they had more than 5 flame imprints, they could easily leave, so it wasn't a big problem. Therefore, information from the outside could easily be transmitted in. They were very clear about the matter of the heavenly netherworld holy kingdom. It was destroyed by the Phoenix race's divine emissaries. It could be said that the Phoenix race was the one who destroyed the heavenly netherworld holy kingdom. This kid is the main culprit behind the destruction of the heavenly netherworld divine nation. It turned out to be him. Su Zhangming's heart sank. How could they not know the strength of the heavenly netherworld divine nation? They had sent so many Saint King stage masters, many of whom were at the peak of the Saint King stage, especially the one who was equivalent to an old ancestor, but all of them had been killed by this divine envoy. In other words, even if he had the support of the ancient underworld divine pagoda, he would still die here. The gap in cultivation was too big. Even old ancestors had died, let alone him. That's right. Previously, our spies saw the Phoenix race and called him divine emissary. A human is called divine emissary. I don't think there is anyone else besides that terrifying divine emissary. Sang Yuheng said indifferently. Then, do you still want to accept the challenge? I don't want to accept the challenge. But if I don't accept the challenge, won't I still have to accept the challenge after a week? Su Zhangming smiled awkwardly. He was sweating profusely when he heard that. Originally, he wanted to accept the challenge. Who knew that Sang Yuheng would send him a voice transmission and tell him not to accept the challenge? That's true. But what if he dies in the ancient underworld divine pagoda within a week? Sang Yuheng said with a faint smile. If he dies here in a week, do you want the old ancestors to take action? Su Zhangming's eyes lit up. His cultivation wasn't high, but the old ancestors' cultivation was very strong. Who said that Patriarch and the others must take action? Some things can only be solved by using our brains. It's not something that can be solved by devouring others. Sang Yuheng patted his shoulder and said with a faint smile. Do what you have to do. We will take care of the rest. Chapter 806. Yi Tianyun didn't know about Sang Yuheng's plan, so after refusing, he went down from the 4th floor. He could only wait for a week. Anyway, it wasn't a long time, so he didn't mind waiting for a while. It just so happened that he wanted to see how Bai Shuihuang's situation was, as well as Fan Shuishuan's situation. He didn't know if she could still bear it. When he went down to the 3rd floor, he heard an uproar coming from the Floor Lord Palace. When he walked over, he saw the Floor Lord brand on Bai Shuihuang's arm, which meant that she had successfully passed the assessment and became the Floor Lord of the 3rd floor. Although she couldn't become the Floor Lord of the 4th floor, she could still compete for the Floor Lord of the 3rd floor. There were a lot of seriously injured cultivators and evil spirit races corpses around her. The dead ones were quickly moved out, and even the bloodstains disappeared. They were all cleaned up. Sure enough, becoming the Floor Lord of the 3rd floor won't be a problem. Yi Tianyun looked around and saw that there were many Spirit King stage cultivators who were defeated, but there were no Saint King stage cultivators. Saint King stage cultivators were not cabbages. The main reason was that they wouldn't come down to become the Floor Lord because their level was too low. If they had a position in the third floor, it would be impossible for them to come down to become the floor lord. This was not equivalent to a promotion, but a demotion, and their authority would be greatly reduced. Otherwise, if every floor lord was at the Saint King stage, no one would dare to challenge the floor lord. There were also other Phoenix clan cultivators present. There were also 2 elders. One was shopkeeper Yi, Elder Yi, and the other was Elder Lei. The other one was Elder Lei. Both of them were very powerful elders, but Elder Lei had only obtained 3 flame imprints, so his speed was a little slow. According to the information provided by shopkeeper Yi, they had been here for several months, and they had only reached the 4th floor. Bai Shuihuang originally wanted to challenge him, but he refused, so she could only choose to challenge Qin Jian on the 4th floor. On the other hand, Yi Tianyun was too fast, and he rushed to the 5th floor in a flash. They were stuck here mainly because they were on the 1st and 2nd level. They had to climb up bit by bit, and without joining a faction, they were slower. Because Bai Shuihuang didn't have the flame brand, she had to work hard again, but with her identity as a story lord, it would be relatively easy for her to fight. Congratulations, Patriarch, for becoming the floor master of the 3rd floor. Yi Tianyun smiled and walked over to congratulate them. Speaking of which, clan leader, I didn't expect to see you here. I didn't expect to meet you here either. Did you get some news about the evil spirit race? Bai Shuihuang came over and asked. No, I didn't. I originally wanted to look for the monarch of Holy Kingdom of Ancient Ming. I didn't expect it to be different from what I had expected. Yi Tianyun shook his head helplessly. That's right, this place has been occupied by the evil spirit race. If they are allowed to develop, it will definitely affect the entire underworld. Bai Shuihuang said with a serious expression. Yes, I plan to clear all the way up, but the process is a bit troublesome. It would be great if I could fight all the way up without any restrictions. Yi Tianyun touched his nose and smiled. That's right. Bai Shuihuang and Bai Shuihuang looked at each other and smiled. After saying a few words, Yi Tianyun walked down the stairs. He didn't have anything to say here, so he just let Bai Shuihuang take charge of the meeting. He wanted to see Fan Shuishuan's situation first, and there were other things he needed to do. When he arrived at the 2nd floor and was about to go down to the 1st floor, he found a familiar figure floating in the distance, releasing the netherworld fire to the extreme. Even if there were only 2 flame brands, the power was still amazing. Even 3 flame brands couldn't compare. This figure was none other than Fan Shuishuan from before. She had now successfully reached the 2nd floor. Because she looked weak, many people came to challenge her, wanting to obtain the flame brand. It was precisely because of this that she was able to rush up so quickly. Now she was about to win. Whether it was her foundation or comprehensive strength, they were quite good. She didn't seem to be a spirit core stage cultivator. It was just that it was impossible for her to climb to the top. Her cultivation was too low, and it would take her a long time to climb to the top. This girl is really strange. I thought she was weak, but who knew she would be tricked? How can she control the netherworld fire so smoothly? That's true. I was almost fooled. If she had challenged me, I would have lost for sure. When they saw Fan Shuishuan's situation, they all exclaimed that Fan Shuishuan's control of the netherworld fire was amazing. Yi Tianyun naturally knew about this. Fan Shuishuan was the descendant of the ancient underworld god king, so naturally, she had some privileges here. The power she released was far more powerful than other powerhouses of the same level. Even if she were to face a floor lord, she wouldn't need to surpass the opponent's cultivation. Soon, Fan Shuishuan successfully won and obtained the flame brand. Because she didn't succeed in killing the netherworld god king, the reward was relatively small. After Fan Shuishuan walked out, she immediately sat down to adjust her breath. She had consumed too much energy, so she couldn't continue to fight. It seems that your ability is not bad. You reached the 2nd floor so quickly. Yi Tianyun walked over and praised her. So it's you. Fan Xiushuan opened her eyes, and when she saw Yi Tianyun, she immediately raised her head proudly and smiled. Of course, don't you know whose territory this is? You already have 5 flame brands, and you have become the floor lord of the 4th floor. When she saw the condition of Yi Tianyun's arm, she was immediately shocked. How long has it been, and he has already reached this level? In total, it has been less than a day, right? Because here, not only do you need to climb the stairs, you also need to find an opponent to fight, otherwise, there is no way to level up so quickly. But Yi Tianyun did it, successfully climbing the stairs in the time it takes for a few incense sticks to burn, and then quickly challenged the opponent. It was that simple. This speed is considered slow. If not for the floor lord of the 5th floor refusing to fight, I probably have 6 flame brands. Yi Tianyun teased her from the side. This. Fan Xiushuan pouted, snorted, and turned her head away, not talking to him. Her previous complacency was immediately gone, she didn't have the slightest bit of interest. Princess. Eldest miss, why did you come here without permission? At this time, an old man rushed over from the side, looking at Fan Xiushuan with a bitter face, but more than that, he was happy, he finally found her. Great Elder, why are you here? Fan Xiushuan jumped up, frightened by the situation. Chapter 807. After the Great Elder found Fan Xiushuan, his expression suddenly relaxed, and then immediately became serious. He glared at her and said, "How can I not come?" After saying that, he dragged Fan Xiushuan to the side. Obviously this is not the place to talk, so he quickly dragged Fan Xiushuan away. Big brother Yi, come with me. Fan Xiushuan followed and pulled Yi Tianyun, wanting to drag him over. This is your business, I won't go over to talk. Yi Tianyun smiled. Fan Xiushuan begged, she just wanted Yi Tianyun to come with her, she didn't want to follow the Great Elder alone. Miss, this is. The Great Elder looked up and down at Yi Tianyun, especially when he saw the brand on his arm, he was shocked. This is the 4th floor master, and the key is a human, how can he not be shocked? He is Big Brother Yi, he saved me before, and now he got 5 flame brands in one go. It's only been a day and a half, less than 2 days. I just reached the 2nd floor, and Big Brother Yi is already on the 5th floor. Fan Xiushuan looked at the Great Elder and said, Great Elder, Big Brother Yi promised us that he would help us eradicate those evil spirit race, he is one of us. Is this true? Fan Qingyun was taken aback, he couldn't believe his ears, in less than 2 days, no one would believe it. If it wasn't for the fact that it was his own princess, who would believe this? Of course it's true, Big Brother Yi, come with us, we need your help. Fan Xiushuan pleaded. Yi Tianyun thought for a while, and finally nodded, and followed them. Fan Qingyun brought them to a cultivation room, and even specially set up a restriction to isolate the sound. Why did you agree to help us, what is your purpose? Fan Qingyun asked simply and rudely, if you want any martial arts, or any treasures, as long as you can help us, these are not a problem. He didn't know why Yi Tianyun was here, and he didn't know why he would suddenly help him. It was hard to believe that he didn't have any ulterior motives. I can't say that I'm helping you. I just want to get rid of the evil spirit race. It's that simple. Yi Tianyun said calmly. His purpose for coming here was simple from the beginning. Besides, I want to find the descendants of the ancient underworld deity king and seek cooperation. Find the descendant of ancient underworld godly king and seek cooperation. Fan Qingyun and the others were startled, they didn't know what Yi Tianyun meant. Immediately, Yi Tianyun told him the general situation, such as the god-king level demon in the mortal world, and so on. This situation gave them a big fright. They didn't expect such a thing to happen. There is a record of this in the ancient underworld divine kingdom. There is indeed a similar ancestor of the evil spirit race in the mortal world. It was this ancestor who first led the evil spirit race into the 3 realms. Fan Qingyun said in a deep voice, Who are you? How can you know about this matter? he didn't deny that he was the descendant of the ancient underworld deity king. After all, if he wanted the other party to choose to stand on his side, he had to tell the truth. I am the descendant of the heaven-creating divine king, the descendant of the king of the heavens. Is this identity enough? Tianyun said calmly. What? They were immediately shocked. Every character in the mortal world was a famous existence, and they were all godly king-level existences. Now, Tianyun had two of them. It was simply incredible. You are the descendant of the heaven-creating divine king. No wonder you know so much, and you still want to destroy the evil spirit race. Fan Shuoxuan pouted and said with some dissatisfaction, why didn't you say it before? Why are you willing to say it now? What's the point of saying it? You are not the manager of the ancient underworld divine kingdom, and we are all here. Even if I say it, you may not necessarily believe it. Tianyun explained. You. Fan Shuoxuan was even angrier. She pouted and turned her face away, refusing to look at Tianyun. Obviously, she was really angry. Do you have any evidence? Fan Qingyun looked at him with burning eyes. Fan Shuoxuan trusted him unconditionally, but it didn't mean that he could trust him unconditionally. He still wanted to see how Tianyun would explain it. I do have evidence, but if I release the aura of the King of the Heavens, can you sense it? If I release the power of the heaven-creating divine king, can you recognize it? Tianyun asked. That's not a problem. Fan Qingyun gestured, we have always had a good relationship with the two great divine kings. Among them, the ancient underworld divine pagoda contains the power of the two masters. I have felt it, so naturally, I know it. The ancient underworld divine pagoda was a divine tool that was blessed by the heaven-creating divine king and the king of the heavens, so it must have their power, so it was normal for him to sense it. The divine runes on the ancient underworld divine pagoda were carved by the heaven-creating divine king, and the ancient underworld divine pagoda was created by the king of the heavens, so how could he not sense it? As for what the ancient underworld divine king specialized in, it was alchemy. It was shocking to say that alchemy could be done with the flame of the netherworld, but it was the truth. The flame of the netherworld could really be used to refine pills, and it could refine more amazing pills than ordinary flames. It could be said that among the three divine kings, the flame of the netherworld was the best in alchemy. That's easy. As soon as his voice fell, Tianyun immediately released the power of the heaven-creating divine king. The familiar power made Fan Qingyun nod, and a little more trust appeared in his eyes. Greetings, young Master Yi. Fan Qingyun bowed respectfully and said, I am very sorry for doubting you before. Fan Qingyun's cultivation was not weak, he was at the third stage of the Saint King stage, but in front of Tianyun, he was still very respectful, even if Tianyun's cultivation was weaker than his. After all, the person in front of him was the only descendant of the heaven-creating divine king, and the descendant of the king of the heavens, so he had to be respectful. It's okay, now I just want to know your preparations. Do you have a plan to deal with them? Tianyun didn't want to be long-winded, he wanted to know what kind of help they could provide. We have a plan, but it can't be implemented immediately. If our people come in, they will be easily discovered, so we can't do anything. I thought about how to break through after a while, but who knew that the princess would come? Fan Qingyun thought of something and explained, I forgot to introduce her, she is our Princess Fan. Because our patriarch, who is Princess Fan's father, personally came here, there has been no news of him for a long time, so she came in without telling us. So there is such a thing. Tianyun looked at Fan Shuoxuan, she really has a lot of courage, it turns out that she came to find her father. In fact, before the patriarch came in, he told us to wait for the signal, and as soon as there is a signal, we will immediately move out. Who knows that after a few years, there is still no news, so Princess Fan came up with this plan. Fan Qingyun sighed. Chapter 808. Tianyun learned that Fan Shuoxuan's father was the current king of the ancient underworld divine kingdom. His name was Fan Tianchen. He had come here a year ago. Once the signal was sent, he would attack. But so much time had passed, and there was no signal at all. The signal was very simple. One of the floors was glowing. It was easy to do this. One just had to become the floor master and control the power here to release it. It was that simple. Normally, the floor masters wouldn't do this, mainly because it was meaningless. This was usually done to release an attack or something to attack the situation outside. It could be said that the ancient underworld divine tower was like a city with 9 turrets. Each area could release amazing power. This was the signal. It was the same as exposing themselves. Since they were told to attack, they wouldn't care if they were exposed or not. But after so long, there was no news at all. Fan Xuexuan sneaked in alone. She was so worried that she forgot about her own safety. But they all had a way to hide their bloodline power. If it wasn't for the appraisal eye, no one would be able to tell that they were the descendants of the ancient underworld divine king. However, this method couldn't be used on everyone. It could only be used on a portion of people. It was equivalent to a type of concealment treasure that could be worn on one's body to enter. Unless he exposed his origin bloodline power in a one-on-one battle, no one would know about it. If they knew, people would have come to stop them. Fan Xuexuan was the best example. No one came to stop her. She was no different from an ordinary cultivator. It doesn't seem easy. I'll go back to the palace and see if I can find your father, Yi Tianyun said. In the palace, he could use the floor master's power to find the cultivators on the floor. He could clearly know where they were, no matter where they were. But he couldn't see the other floors. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come down to find Fan Xuexuan. He could see them clearly from above. Big brother Yi, I'll leave it to you. Fan Xuexuan's expression was especially serious when talking about her father. But now that you're all here, what about the other plans? Yi Tianyun asked. This plan can only be carried out ahead of schedule. We will increase the speed of our attacks and seize the positions of the various story masters. The floor master is the key. If we want to truly regain control of the position, the floor master is the key. Fan Qingyun said solemnly, only by going up like this, when we reach a higher level, can we challenge that high-level powerhouse and pry open the position of an elder. Yi Tianyun nodded his head and quickly went into the details of the plan. It would be best if they could move together. Although fighting alone suited his character, it would undoubtedly be easier to attack if they spread out their strength. Alright, let's carry out the plan now. After the discussion, they immediately acted according to the plan. Fan Qingyun began to move closely according to their previous plan. After coming to the first floor, Yi Tianyun took out the Immortal General's summoning token and used it without any hesitation. A long list of names appeared in front of him. Whether it was the 12 valued hairpins or Leng Hu and the others, their names were all listed one by one. They were now quickly helping Yi Tianyun expand his forces or assisting Shi Shuiyun and the others so that they could kill their enemies in front of the other empires. He did not summon Leng Hu and the others. Instead, he selected the 12 valued hairpins and used it immediately. With a buzz and a flash of light, the 12 of them appeared in front of Yi Tianyun at the same time. Even the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda could not stop the effects of the Immortal General's summoning token. It ignored the divine inscriptions and appeared directly on the first floor without needing to climb any chains. This was the nature of the Immortal General's summoning token. No restrictions could stop it and it could be easily summoned. Similarly, if Yi Tianyun went out and used the Immortal General's summoning token, he could also easily summon people out. They had just been teleported over and were completely confused. They did not know what was going on. Most of them were running errands, such as patrolling the empires to see if there were any evil spirit tribe members. Once they found an evil spirit tribe member, they would be killed. They were basically divided into several groups and scattered across the empires. Therefore, their mission was to kill the evil spirit tribe members. There was no other mission. When they had just arrived, a ray of light came from the sky and branded their arms. A flame brand appeared. This was the reason why he had come down. If he had appeared on the third or fourth floor, he would have been teleported down very quickly and he would still have to come down. He just wanted to train them well and let them grow up quickly here. Young master. When they saw Yi Tianyun, they immediately knelt down and greeted him respectfully. Get up. Yi Tianyun gestured for them to get up quickly and explained, don't be surprised. I used a special method to summon all of you here. This time, I asked you to come here to give you a mission. The first mission is to not die. Everything is for your own safety. The second mission is to get rid of the evil spirit tribe members here. However, the evil spirit tribe members here are not easy to get rid of. The last mission is to cultivate well and raise your cultivation level. Then, he began to explain the rules here. When they heard it, they were a little surprised. They did not expect there to be such a cultivation place. Do you understand what I said? Yi Tianyun looked at them and said. Understood. The 12 valued females shouted in unison. It's good that you understand. You can start now. Everything is for your own safety. Do you understand? Understood. Then, they quickly moved and joined the battle on the first floor. Yi Tianyun believed that with their participation, the lower levels would soon be ruled by them. The 12 of them were all young girls and looked absolutely harmless. This way, it would be very easy for people to challenge them. Other people would not care whether the opponent was a little girl or not. As long as they could bring them benefits, they would still kill the little girl. Yi Tianyun's order was that simple. The evil spirit tribe must be killed. If ordinary cultivators tried to kill them, they must be killed. Everything depends on your luck. Yi Tianyun looked at their backs and walked to the 5th floor. He needs to wait for a week, and then the final battle will begin. Apart from that, he had nothing else to do. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.